Chapter 23:10. Qianjue sighed and said, "Yes, life and death are fated. I just hope that your aunt will be blessed by the heavens this time. Your grandpa and grandma were guarding your sister-in-law the whole night last night. They're already so old. How can their bodies endure staying up all night? They can only relax if your aunt wakes up earlier. Otherwise, they'll probably collapse from exhaustion." Qianjue was full of worry as she spoke. Her family had tried to persuade Zhao Baoshan and Hu Chunhua, but the old couple refused to listen. They didn't care whether they were tired or not, and just stayed by Zhao Xinhui's side. Zhao Yin'er couldn't help but shake her head. This Zhao Xinhui was really harming others and himself. As long as he kept a distance from Qin Yuan, he wouldn't implicate her, and old Zhao's family wouldn't worry about her. Speaking of which, Zhao Xinhui could be considered a mistress in someone else's marriage. Mistresses didn't have good endings since ancient times. It was better in ancient times, but in the 21st century, wouldn't Zhao Xinhui be hacked to pieces by his first wife? There's no point in being anxious. We can only wait. Fourth aunt, return the things to me. I'll be leaving first. Okay, go back. Qianjue nodded. She didn't want to add to the troubles of old Zhao's family with Zhao Yin'er. When Zhao Yin'er returned home, she saw Mu Hin busy in the kitchen. Zhao Yin'er quickly ran over and said to Mu Hin, Xin, rest first. Let me do the work. Don't worry so much about family matters. You must be tired from last night, right? Rest well today. Zhao Yin'er knew that the newlyweds had a lot of fun last night. She was worried that Mu Hin's body couldn't take it, so she stopped her and didn't let her do more work. When Mu Hin heard Zhao Yin'er's words, she blushed and lowered her head shyly. Zhao Yin'er smiled awkwardly. She had forgotten that Mu Hin was a shy girl, unlike Mulan. She could talk about such things openly with Mulan, but she could not do so in front of Mu Hin. Zhao Yin'er couldn't help but mutter in her heart. They obviously came from the same womb. Why did Mulan not know how to be shy when talking to her about this kind of thing? But Mu Hin was so shy. However, when she thought of the gap between her and Zhao Yin'er, she felt that the gap between Mu Hin and Mulan was nothing. One had to know that the original owner had a delicate face, but Zhao Ping'er's face was extremely ugly. Well, let's not dwell on this matter. Zhao Yin'er smiled and said to Mu Hin, "You're married to Tianan, so you're my sister-in-law. I'm your second sister. There's nothing to be shy about between us. You and Tianan are husband and wife. Since you're already married, there's bound to be bedroom matters, cough cough. If there's anything you don't understand, you can ask me directly. You can also ask Mulan's sister-in-law." Mu Hin's face turned even redder. Zhao Yin'er had never seen such a shy girl. She instantly regretted her words. Wasn't she a little too straightforward? Mu Xian was a little scared, however. She didn't know that Mu Hin's skin was so thin. She didn't even have a third of Mulan's skin. It seemed that she had to discuss with Mulan later, and let Mulan teach her sister well. Mu Hin hesitated for a few seconds before responding. Her voice was as soft as a mosquito's. If it wasn't for the lack of noise in the room, Zhao Yin'er probably wouldn't have heard it. After hesitating for a few seconds, Mu Hin hurriedly followed after her. The moment they entered Qin Yuan's house, Zhao Yin'er coldly called out Zhao Ping'er's name. "Zhao Ping'er." Zhao Ping'er looked up unhappily. "Zhao Yin'er, what are you shouting for? Can't you see that my big brother Yuan is injured and needs to recuperate? Then come out." Zhao Ping'er was afraid that Zhao Yin'er would disturb Qin Yuan. Qin Yuan unwillingly followed Zhao Yin'er out of the house. "Zhao Yin'er, did you eat a firecracker? Why are you looking for me with such a huge temper?" Zhao Ping'er asked in annoyance. However, just as she spoke, Zhao Yin'er slapped Zhao Ping'er hard across the face. She only heard a slap. After a few seconds of sluggishness, she recalled Zhao Ping'er's shrill scream. Chapter 23:12. Zhao Yin'er, have you been bitten by a mad dog? Why are you making trouble for me again? What have I done? Aren't you being too much of a bully? She slapped me for no reason. If it weren't for the fact that Qin Yuan had to stay with the third branch, based on Zhao Ping'er's temper, she would have rushed up and fought with Zhao Yin'er. She was being too much of a bully for no reason. At this moment, her face was burning with pain. Zhao Ping'er couldn't help but worry about her face. She was already ugly enough. Now that her face was swollen from the slap, Wouldn't it become even uglier? Why am I making trouble for you? Don't you know it in your heart? Zhao Yin'er replied unhappily. No what? Zhao Ping'er was a little confused. When did she provoke Zhao Yin'er? This time, it was clearly out of the blue. You don't know what you've done? Zhao Yin'er, if you have something to say, just say it. Don't beat around the bush. I don't know what you're talking about either. Alright, since you don't know, I'll tell you. I want to ask, who gave you the right to order Mu Hin around? Zhao Yin'er's eyes had a hint of sharpness. Zhao Ping'er was stunned and said with disdain. She's Tianan's daughter-in-law, and I'm Tianan's older sister. As the eldest sister, can't I order my younger sister-in-law around? She's a woman who married into our family. If she doesn't work for us, should we treat her like an ancestor? Zhao Yin'er, even if this matter is brought up in front of others, I'm not necessarily unreasonable. What right do you have to slap me because of this? Aren't you going too far? Haha, who do you think you are? Zhao Ping'er, father and mother don't want to have anything to do with you. We're taking you and Qin Yuan in now. Please understand your position in this family. You're just a married woman. You don't have the right to meddle in the family's affairs. Moreover, you and the Qin Yuan are both living under someone else's roof, so you'd better behave yourselves. If you say that you're making me unhappy, I'll tell you to scram right now. When Mu Hin marries into our family, you can let her serve her in-laws and take good care of her husband. But you don't have the qualifications to work for an outsider. If there's a next time, you know the consequences. Zhao Yin'er said with a serious face and gave Zhao Ping'er a warning look. Zhao Ping'er was very unhappy, but she was shocked by Zhao Yin'er's words. Zhao Yin'er understood Zhao Ping'er's temperament. She meant what she said, and she was very ruthless. If he was really kicked out by Zhao Yin'er, how could Qin Yuan's body take it? For the sake of Qin Yuan, even if Zhao Ping'er felt wronged, she still gritted her teeth and endured it. After seeing Zhao Ping'er tactfully nod her head, Zhao Yin'er restrained her anger and let Zhao Ping'er go. Because of this, Zhao Ping'er hated Mu Hin even more. It must be this B***TCH who ran to Zhao Yin'er to complain. Zhao Tianan must be blind to marry such a woman. Zhao Ping'er suppressed the anger in her heart and returned to Qin Yuan's room. Qin Yuan heard the conversation outside the room just now. When he saw the slap mark on Zhao Ping'er's face, he felt a touch of pain in his heart. He knew that Zhao Ping'er was wronged because of him. In his heart, he felt even more guilty towards Zhao Ping'er. If it weren't for them living under someone else's roof, how could they tolerate Zhao Yin'er's rampant behavior? Sigh. What could they do? Chapter 23:13. Qin Yuan reached out and touched Zhao Ping'er's face. He asked with concern, Ping'er, does your face hurt a lot? Zhao Ping'er was slightly stunned. She raised her head and glanced at Qin Yuan. This was the first time she saw Big Brother Yuan being so concerned about her. Moreover, he was speaking to her so softly. It was completely different from before. It was precisely because of this that Zhao Ping'er felt flattered. This was because Qin Yuan was something she did not dare to hope for. Meeting Qin Yuan's eyes, Zhao Ping'er bit her lower lip. She then shook her head and said, Big Brother Yuan, don't worry. It doesn't hurt. It's just a slap. It's okay. Zhao Ping'er was afraid that Qin Yuan would be worried about her, so she deliberately said that it was okay. Actually, she was already very satisfied that Qin Yuan could speak to her so gently and be so concerned about her. How could she bear to let Qin Yuan worry about her again? Looking at Zhao Ping'er's appearance, he sighed and said, Ping'er, how can it not hurt? Half of your face is swollen. Sigh. It's all my fault. I've implicated you. If we weren't living under someone else's roof, how could we have endured such grievances? Ping'er, I'm really useless. I'm really not a man. As Qin Yuan said this, a look of frustration appeared on his face. Zhao Ping'er hurriedly held Qin Yuan's hand and said to Qin Yuan, Big Brother Yuan, don't say that. This has nothing to do with you. You're injured, so we have to recuperate properly. Zhao Yin'er is arrogant, so let her be for now. As long as your injury recovers, as long as Big Brother Yuan is fine, everything will be worth it. Qin Yuan did not know how to describe his current feelings. Looking at Zhao Ping'er in front of him, Qin Yuan only felt that Zhao Ping'er was a foolish woman, because he had treated her so well in the past. Why did she continue to do so much for him without hesitation? Other than his face being slightly fairer, what other part of him was worthy of being treated well? The more Qin Yuan thought about it, the more guilty he felt. He swore to himself that he would never betray Zhao Ping'er in this life. Otherwise, he wouldn't be a human anymore. Ping. Don't say that. Other than taking care of me, you should also take care of yourself. You're pregnant. We have to take good care of our child. I hope you can give birth to a chubby boy for me this time. Qin Yuan looked at Zhao Ping'er with even more warmth in his eyes. Zhao Ping'er was so excited that she almost cried. She didn't expect that Qin Yuan would still talk to her. Because ever since she got pregnant, Qin Yuan refused to admit that the child in her belly was his. He kept saying that she was pregnant with her stupid brother's child. Now not only did he admit it, but he also told her to take good care of herself. Zhao Ping'er felt that the world was changing too quickly. Qin Yuan's sincerity made her feel that all her previous efforts were worth it. Yes, Big Brother Yuan, I know. It's only been a few months, so it won't be a problem. I'll have to be more careful when I'm pregnant and can't move freely. Right now the most important thing is to take care of your injuries. Zhao Ping'er smiled and replied to Qin Yuan. The redness and swelling on her face didn't hurt that much anymore. Perhaps it was because her heart was sweet, so she could ignore everything else. Zhao Ping'er felt that she had benefited a lot from the exposure of Qin Yuan and Zhao Xinhui's relationship. At least through this incident, Qin Yuan could see clearly what kind of person her aunt was, and Qin Yuan returned to her side. Chapter 23:14. She had to buy some things for Ma Xiaofeng when she got back, so that she could give Xiaofeng a good makeover. At the thought of Ma Xiaofeng, Zhao Ping'er recalled what Ma Xiaofeng had said to her previously. Ma Xiaofeng had said that she could ask a famous doctor in Yang City to see if he could remove the birthmark on her face. If she could remove the birthmark and whiten her skin, she might not become a great beauty, but she could at least be as delicate and pretty as Ma Xiaofeng. Although Qin Yuan had accepted her and wanted to live a good life with her, she still felt a little inferior. But Zhao Ping'er still felt inferior. When she stood next to Qin Yuan, she felt that her face was not good enough for Qin Yuan. Only when she became beautiful and not as ugly as she was now would they look more compatible when she stood next to Qin Yuan. Moreover, there was still a long way to go. Everything was still unknown. Qin Yuan had just been injured and was lying in bed, unable to move. In the end, she had stayed by his side to take care of him. He was only willing to live a good life with her because he was touched. Who knew whether or not Qin Yuan would slowly forget what he had said today after he had recovered from his injuries? If he met those good-looking and seductive little vixens again, wouldn't Qin Yuan be seduced by them again? After all men like beautiful women. Just in case, she had to make herself as beautiful as those women outside. Only then would she not have to worry about Qin Yuan being snatched away. Big Brother Yuan, I plan to go to Yang City to see a doctor in a few days. Qin Yuan was slightly taken aback. He hurriedly asked with concern, Ping'er, are you feeling unwell? Zhao Ping'er hurriedly shook her head. No, I'm going to have my face looked at. My face looks like this. If the doctor sees it, he might be able to treat me. In the past, I didn't have money, so I had no choice. Now that I have money, I want to see if my face can be treated. Qin Yuan nodded when he heard that. He knew that women loved beauty very much. Zhao Ping'er was no exception. Moreover, Zhao Ping'er was born ugly. Nowadays, no woman would be able to stand having such a face. Qin Yuan was very supportive of Zhao Ping'er's plan. He nodded and said, Okay, Ping'er, go ahead. Do whatever you want to do. I support you. Zhao Ping'er was very touched. She nodded heavily and replied, N. Big Brother Yuan, you're so nice. While Zhao Ping'er and Qin Yuan were whispering sweet nothings to each other in the room, Zhao Yin'er went to Mu Hin and told Mu Hin, Xin, if Zhao Ping'er dares to bully you or order you around again, you have to learn how to refuse, okay? If she does this again, you have to tell me. Mu Hin nodded in response. At this moment, she felt a little guilty in her heart. Because Zhao Ping'er was slapped by Zhao Yin'er, she reckoned that Zhao Ping'er hated her to death in her heart now. Sigh. She reckoned that there was no way to mend her relationship with Zhao Ping'er. It was still fine if Zhao Ping'er was not her elder sister. A person who was unrelated to her did not care whether their relationship was good or bad. With this layer of relationship with Zhao Yuner, it was better to maintain a good relationship with her, so that everyone would feel comfortable in their hearts. In the next few days, Zhao Ping'er was more well-behaved. She knew that she was living under someone else's roof and knew her place. Basically, she did everything herself. At old Zhao's house, Zhao Xinhui finally woke up on the third day. Hua Chunhua and Zhao Baoshan both heaved a sigh of relief. If they waited any longer and Zhao Xinhui still did not wake up, they reckoned that they would really have to pay with their lives. Chapter 23:15. Yili was quite skilled. His kung fu was even better than Mu Lianfeng's. Dao worshipped Yili a lot and asked Yili to teach him kung fu all day long. Yili was very patient. Even though Dao was only a few years old, he didn't look down on Dao at all. In Yili's words, it was a good thing to practice kung fu from a young age. Also, Dao had a good physique and was very suitable for practicing kung fu. Previously, Yili taught Dao some kung fu. Because Dao was too young, he didn't learn very quickly. After Dao digested the kung fu, Yili would teach him another kung fu. She saw how Yili treated Dao and doted on him like he was his own son. Zhao Yuner couldn't help but want Dao to acknowledge Yili as his godfather. It would be good for her child to have another father to dote on him. She could tell that Yili liked Dao a lot and was very responsible. During the time that Yili lived at Zhao Yuner's house, the biggest benefit that Zhao Yuner felt was that they could eat wild game from time to time. Because Yili was skilled, he had to go to the mountains often, and he could bring back some wild game every time he went. Sometimes it was wild rabbits, sometimes it was pheasants, sometimes it was deer. These things might not be available even with money, especially in the countryside. If they wanted to eat meat, they had to go to town or Yang City to buy it. It was very inconvenient. The wild game that Yili brought back made it so that they didn't have to buy meat at all. On this day, Dao tugged at Yili's hand and looked up at Yili with his cute little face. "Uncle Yi, are we going to the mountains today? Can we bring Dao with us?" Yili looked down at the cute little bun and smiled. "Dao wants to go to the mountains." Yes, I want to go. There's nothing to play at home. It's so boring. Let's go for a walk in the mountains." While he was at it, he would also look for his father. He's not at home all day long. Yili thought for a moment and nodded. "All right then. Since Dao wants to go, Uncle Yi will accompany Dao up the mountain." Although it was a little dangerous on the mountain, Yili was pretty good at fighting. Even if he encountered any wild beasts, he could deal with them alone. Although Mu Lianfeng was good at fighting, he was not as good as Yili, who had undergone professional training. Mu Lianfeng might not be able to deal with a fierce white tiger, but Yili did not take it seriously at all. With Yili's protection, nothing would happen to Dao on the mountain. Zhao Yuner felt more at ease handing Dao over to Yili. Dao was very excited when he heard Yili nod in agreement. "Uncle Yi is so nice. Let's go." Yili held a knife and a bow in his hands as he held Dao's hand and walked up the mountain. He brought the bow with him so that Dao could practice and see if he could catch prey. He had taught Dao archery before, but he practiced at home and could not test his true skills. It was only through hunting that he could train better. Yili agreed to bring Dao up the mountain so easily, not only to let Dao have some fun, but also to train Dao's archery skills. Before they set off, Yili informed Zhao Yuner so that she would not be anxious if she did not see Dao and Zhao Yuner. After a while, the two of them walked up the mountain and slowly disappeared into the forest. Dao looked around excitedly along the way. Yili led the way in front to prevent Dao from tripping or getting stabbed by the thorns along the way. Chapter 23:16. Fortunately, Dao was also very brave and strong. Although he was small in size, after learning martial arts from him for a period of time, his movements had become a lot more nimble. He walked very steadily, unlike a child who was only a few years old. The two of them walked towards the depths of the mountains. Along the way, Yili taught Dao how to identify all kinds of herbs. He taught Dao everything he recognized. Dao had a very good memory. Basically, he could remember everything Yili taught him once or twice. Shoo! Yili suddenly heard movement. He stopped in his tracks and made a shushing gesture to Dowdu. Dowdu nodded. After a while, the two of them discovered a plump rabbit emerging from the bushes. Yili immediately handed the bow in his hand to Dowdu and said to Dowdu, "Come, this is a good opportunity for you to practice. See if you can hit those rabbits." Dowdu took the bow in Yili's hand and nodded heavily. According to what Yili had taught before, he pulled the crossbow and shot an arrow in the direction of the hare with his eyes like a torch. However, Dowdu was only a few years old after all. He couldn't use too much strength, so the power of the bow was a little weak. Fortunately, the rabbit wasn't too far away. Dowdu's arrow finally hit the rabbit's body. The rabbit fell to the ground after being hit. Blood began to flow out of the wounds on its body. "I hit it," Dowdu cheered. Then he looked at Yili, waiting for Yili's praise. When Yili saw this, a satisfied smile appeared on his face. He patted Dowdu's head and said exaggeratedly, "Dowdu is awesome." Dowdu's little face also overflowed with a happy smile. This success greatly boosted Dowdu's confidence. He felt a sense of pride in his heart. Yili walked towards the rabbit and picked it up. He would bring it home and give it to Zhao Yuner. It would be another dish to go with wine. Yili felt that the happiest thing about living in Zhao Yuner's house was to enjoy the leisure time here. He could often see Zhao Yuner and eat Zhao Yuner's cooking. To him, this was a kind of happiness that he didn't dare to ask for in the past. Even though he knew that Zhao Yuner liked Mu Lianfeng, and that she was with Mu Lianfeng, he was still very happy. In his opinion, it was fine as long as Zhao Yuner was happy. During these days at Zhao Yuner's house, Yili came into contact with Zhao Yuner's life. He saw Mu Lianfeng's love for Zhao Yuner, and knew that there was another man who loved Zhao Yuner as deeply as she did. Yili was relieved to hand her over to him. He just needed to quietly protect Zhao Yuner's happiness. "Let's go. Let's continue looking, and see if we can hunt more game back. Dowdu is awesome today. I believe we can hunt more game." Yili encouraged Dowdu. Dowdu nodded heavily. He couldn't wait to continue trying his hand. The two of them walked deeper into the mountains for a while. Suddenly, they heard the roar of a tiger. Yili's brows furrowed together, and he became more vigilant. He hurriedly held Dowdu in his arms. If the tiger rushed out, Dowdu wouldn't be hurt. The tiger's roar was getting closer and closer. Amidst the tiger's roar, they heard a miserable cry. Yili's first reaction was that someone was attacked by a tiger. He had to go take a look, so that he could save them. Yili first carried Dowdu to a thick black tree trunk, and told Dowdu not to move, and to wait for him to come back. After all, tigers were dangerous creatures. He had to ensure Dowdu's safety first. Chapter 23:17. When he was about to reach the tiger, from afar, he saw a few people confronting the tiger. These people were not dressed simply. From their clothes, he could tell that they were at least the children of wealthy families. The people in front of the tiger were wearing black brocade clothes and holding swords in their hands. They were very vigilant as they confronted the tiger. The person behind them was wearing bright yellow clothes. The cloth and embroidery on it showed different reactions. Moreover, this person had a different aura. Those people in black brocade clothes were obviously protecting the man in yellow clothes behind them. However, Yili did not think too much. The identity of these people was not important. What was important was that the tiger hurt people. The tiger opened its mouth and roared at those people. The tiger's roar spread through the forest. After roaring, the tiger pounced on those people. However, it was blocked by the people in black brocade clothes with long swords. However, they were still no match for the tiger. They could only keep retreating. The yellow-clothed man furrowed his brows tightly. Cold sweat oozed out of his forehead. Although they were not in danger for the time being, the tiger was indeed difficult to deal with. After the tiger roared, it was already difficult to deal with one tiger. Who knew that another tiger would appear in the forest? Although these people in black brocade robes were very skilled, it was still very strenuous for them to face these two behemoths. The people in black brocade clothes were divided into two groups, and dealt with the two tigers separately. One of them could not hold on any longer. Just as the tiger almost pounced on the man in yellow, Yili leaped and slashed at the tiger with his long sword. His movements were nimble, but there was a ruthlessness in his actions. He did not hesitate to kill the tiger. His long sword pierced the tiger's vitals. The tiger fell to the ground in pain. Yili immediately pulled his long sword out of the tiger's body. The long sword pierced the tiger's eyes. The tiger lay on the ground and struggled. After a while it stopped moving. The other tiger was also killed by the people in black brocade clothes. The man in yellow was still in shock. Then, he looked at Yili in front of him. If Yili had not acted in time, he might have been bitten by the tiger. Therefore he was very grateful to Yili. A few men in black robes surrounded the man in yellow nervously. Then, one of them pointed his sword at Yili and asked coldly, "Who are you?" Because Yili's sudden appearance was too strange, they questioned Yili. If there was anything wrong with Yili, they had to deal with this man. The man in yellow also looked at Yili curiously. It was really hard to understand how a person like Yili, who was so skilled in kung fu, could be found in such a remote place. It would be better for them to be more cautious. Who knew if this person was here to assassinate him? Yili was a little unhappy between her eyebrows. He had clearly helped them get rid of the tiger and saved the yellow-clothed man from injury. In the end, not only did this group of people not appreciate his kindness, they even questioned him like this. Yili was not a very good-tempered person. He snorted, "Is this how you treat your savior? Tell us who you are. Otherwise, who would know why you saved him?" Chapter 23:18. However, when Yili saw the two tigers lying on the ground, he realized that it didn't take him much effort. The tiger's entire body was a treasure. He would bring them down the mountain and give them to Zhao Yuner later. The tiger's fur could be kept or sold for quite a bit of money. With Zhao Yuner's cooking skills, the tiger meat would definitely become a delicacy. The tiger's penis could be sold for medicine. Cough cough. It would be good to use it to boost Mu Lianfeng's stamina and let Zhao Yuner have more sexual bliss. The tigers could be soaked in medicine. The other parts of the tiger's body could also be kept and sold. In short, this trip was worth it. For the sake of the tigers, he decided not to bicker with these people. Thus, he squatted down and carried one of the tigers. It didn't take much effort to carry something that weighed 1 to 200 caddies up the mountain with Yili. However, it was a little troublesome to carry two tigers down the mountain at the same time. After all, Yili still had to take care of Dauda later. He could only carry one tiger for now, and leave the other one for later on the mountain. However, Yili's actions puzzled the man in black and the yellow-clothed gentleman. Could this person's goal be the two tigers? Nothing else. When the yellow-clothed gentleman saw Yili's arrogant attitude, he sized him up a little more. He could tell that Yili didn't have any enmity towards them. He was indeed here to save him. Thus he walked forward and smiled at Yili. "Young hero, I'm sorry. My guards were too rude. I apologize to you here. I hope you can forgive them. Also, thank you for your help just now. Otherwise, I might have really been injured by the tigers. Young hero, is there anything you would like to give me as a token of my gratitude?" Yili glanced at the yellow-clothed gentleman indifferently and said in an indifferent tone, "No need." After saying that, he proudly carried the tigers and walked forward. The leader of the group, a man in a black brocade robe, said to Yili angrily, "Don't be rude to our master." The yellow-clothed young master gestured with his hand. "This young hero is my savior. Tomorrow night, you are the one who is being rude." "Yes," Mingyi replied. Yili still couldn't be bothered to deal with these people. He didn't even stop, and continued walking forward. When they reached the tree where Dauda was, Yili first carried Dauda down from the tree. Then, he carried the tiger and carried Dauda down the mountain. Dauda's eyes lit up when he saw Yili kill the tiger. He looked at Yili excitedly and said to Yili, "Uncle Yi, you're amazing. I actually hunted a tiger. Mother will definitely be very happy when she sees this." Yili touched Dauda's head lovingly. Then he blinked and said, "Not just one. There's another one. Let's go down the mountain now and send this tiger home. Later, we'll go up the mountain and bring the other one back." The smile on Dauda's little face became wider. He nodded heavily and looked at Yili with admiration. Uncle Yi was really amazing. Ordinary people had to put in a lot of effort and risk to hunt a tiger. However, Uncle Yi killed the tiger in a few moves. It was really amazing. In Daoda's heart, Yili was already his hero and idol. Other than his father, Yili was the most powerful man in his heart. Chapter 23:19. Let's go. Yili found the little bun's infatuated gaze to be a little funny, so he gently patted Daoda's head and called out to him. After all, it would take a lot of effort to climb up the mountain later, so Yili didn't want to drag things out too late. Daoda nodded heavily, then followed Yili down the mountain. After Yili turned to leave, the yellow-clothed gentleman narrowed his eyes slightly, as if he was thinking about something. Mingyi walked up and said to the yellow-clothed gentleman, "Your Majesty, that person just now was very skilled, so he's clearly not an ordinary person. We don't know if he has any ulterior motives this time, so we have to be careful." This yellow-clothed gentleman was the current emperor. This time, he came to Yang City again to discuss political matters with Mu Lianfeng face to face, and at the same time, to investigate whether Mu Lianfeng was sincerely working for him during this period of time. After secretly investigating, the emperor confirmed that Mu Lianfeng had been working for him earnestly during this period of time, and didn't do anything he shouldn't have done. Only then did he truly accept Mu Lianfeng in his heart. He was naturally suspicious, so he would consider many things before using people. Only when he confirmed that there was nothing wrong with this person, and that this person was completely loyal to him, would he dare to entrust everything to him. Suppressing the unrest at the border fortress was very important, so he had to confirm that Mu Lianfeng was truly loyal to him. Otherwise, he would have to hand this matter over to someone else. Fortunately, Mu Lianfeng didn't disappoint him, and he now had one more person he could use. Hearing Ming Ye's words, the emperor smiled faintly, and his eyes darkened. He shouldn't have any ulterior motives. Your Majesty, why are you so sure? Ming Ye didn't understand. In any case, he felt that this matter was too strange. Who would come into this deep mountain for no reason? Just when the emperor was in danger, Yili suddenly intervened and saved the emperor's life. This was too much of a coincidence, so much so that it made people feel that something was wrong. There was a meaningful smile on the emperor's lips. He curled his lips and replied in a playful tone. Shun's intuition. Ming Ye's mouth twitched. When did the emperor start joking with them? Women talked about intuition all day long. How could the emperor judge things based on intuition? He felt that something was wrong. But it was always a good thing to be more careful. Just in case Yili had any ulterior motives, it would be better to take precautions. All right, let's go. The emperor's tone became a lot more relaxed. He called a few of his subordinates to go down the mountain and find Mu Lianfeng to discuss political matters. Yes, after Yili carried the tiger down the mountain, the villagers heard about it and all rushed over to watch the fun. Previously, Zhao Yun'er's family got a tiger, which was very shocking. They didn't expect to get another one this time. Zhao Yun'er was also a little dumbfounded when she saw Yili carry the tiger back. Wasn't this man a little too valiant? It was just a trip up the mountain. How could he bring back a tiger so casually? Yun'er, do as you see fit with this tiger. I'll skin it later, and I'll leave the rest to you. Then you can have a meal of tiger meat tonight. There's still another one on the mountain, so I'll go and carry it back. After placing the tiger on the ground, Yili had Zhao Yun'er greet him. Chapter 23:20. Zhao Yun'er was secretly shocked. She only felt that Yili's skills were really too heaven-defying. Killing a tiger was as easy as killing a chicken. It was too easy. After being shocked for a while, Zhao Yun'er finally came back to her senses and nodded at Yili. Yili smiled, then turned around and continued walking up the mountain. Meanwhile, quite a number of people had gathered in Zhao Yun'er's courtyard. They were all pointing at the tiger on the ground and discussing it. Aya, who is this person? He's too amazing. He actually killed a tiger. Oh right. I remember that this person lived with old Zhao's third branch for a long time. What's his relationship with the third branch? Originally, Yili lived with Zhao Yun'er's family. Other than his good looks, he didn't attract much attention. Although Yili was beautiful, Mu Lianfeng was also very handsome. Moreover, Mu Lianfeng was the heir apparent. With Mu Lianfeng in front of him, Yili attracted a lot less attention. Most of the time, Yili wouldn't easily show his face in public. He didn't want to cause trouble for Zhao Yun'er's family when he came out for a stroll. Even when Zhao Yun'er's family held a banquet, Yili purposely left so that no one could see him. This was because he knew that the entire village would attend the banquet. If he showed up, he would naturally attract a lot of attention. This time, because Yili had hunted a tiger and carried such an eye-catching animal back, it was difficult for everyone not to notice him even if they didn't want to. After one person asked, the others followed suit and said, "That's right. Who is this man? I didn't hear Sister Liang," and the others mention him. "Yun'er girl, what's your relationship with the man who carried the tiger just now?" Faced with the villagers' questions, Zhao Yun'er vaguely replied, "My cousin, my mother's relatives, and your parents are all there. He came to stay with us for a while." After hearing Zhao Yun'er's reply, everyone nodded and continued to gossip about Yili. "Don't say, Yun'er's cousin is really handsome. I have never seen such a handsome young man in the surrounding villages." "Isn't that so? You can't find anyone with such looks in the entire Yang city. Other than being good-looking, he's also very skilled. He actually hunted a tiger. How good do you think he is?" "Ayaya, if he can even bring back a tiger, then prey is nothing. If he often brings back game back, who knows how much he can sell it for? Not to mention he's handsome and knows how to earn money. I wonder if he's married." "He's definitely not married. If he's married, it's impossible for him to come to Sister Liang's place." "That's true. It's a pity that his parents are dead. Otherwise, I have a daughter at home. I want to marry my daughter to him. This young man is not bad. He's very capable. Io, now that you mention it, I also have a daughter at home who is of age to be married. It doesn't matter if his parents are dead, as long as he's capable of earning money. I want to take him back as a live-in son-in-law. Indeed, he's not bad. Wouldn't we be lucky to have such a live-in son-in-law? Everything else aside, wouldn't the treasures on a tiger be worth dozens or hundreds of taels of silver?" "That's right. Let's ask Mrs. Liang then." The villagers were very interested in Yili, especially after seeing Yili's abilities. Those who had daughters at home couldn't wait to take Yili as a live-in son-in-law. Chapter 23-21. They knew that Yili was capable and could make money, so they wanted to give their daughter to him. How could there be such a good deal in this world? Not to mention Yili's ability, there were not many women who could match up to his looks. He was too handsome. If not for the fact that he was a beauty, there would be a lot of pressure standing next to Yili. However, the villagers could only talk about it. With Yili's personality, he would definitely not be interested in the daughters of these villagers. After the villagers finished their discussion, they gathered in front of Liang Jinxiao. They hoped that Liang Jinxiao, as an elder, could make the decision and help Yili get married. Liang Jinxiao was helpless. Zhao Yun'er had only casually mentioned Yili's identity to stop the rumors. She was not Yili's real elder. How could she make the decision for Yili's marriage? He could only answer the villagers vaguely. "This child is quite independent. Although I'm an elder, it's not good for me to intervene in his marriage. If you really like this child, you can go and talk to him. He has to agree to this matter first." Zhao Yun'er secretly shook her head and began to worry for Yili. Yili would probably have to endure the villagers' ravaging. It was just like the 21st century's ants urging people to get married. It was really annoying. She had already experienced it in her previous life. She knew how it felt to live a life worse than death. Putting the villagers aside, Zhao Yun'er stared at the tiger on the ground. Such a big tiger would be able to have a good meal tonight and make a table full of meat. She could cut some of the meat and send some to Mulan. Old Zhao's family could also send a few caddies. If she couldn't finish the rest, she could just marinate it with salt. When she wanted to eat it, she could eat the marinated tiger meat. It tasted pretty good. She could keep some tiger bones for wine and give the rest to others. The most valuable and precious thing was the tiger penis. Thinking about the tiger penis's effect, Zhao Yun'er's cheeks began to blush. She was a little embarrassed. With Mu Lianfeng's physical strength, why would he need such a thing? She was already tormented enough every night. If he used the tiger's penis, wouldn't he torment her to death day and night? Last time, she and Mu Lianfeng brought back the tiger's penis. Until now, she still hadn't used it and kept it at home. This time, she got 2 tigers and 2 more. She could consider giving them away or selling them. One of them should be able to sell for a good price. After all, the rarer something was, the more valuable it was. And there were many men in ancient times who had this problem. As long as it could be cured, rich people would be willing to pay any price. Later on, she would look around and see who could pay a high price to sell the 2 tiger penises. More and more people came back to Zhao Yun'er's house. They were all here to watch the tiger. Many people wanted to eat tiger meat, but they also knew Zhao Yun'er's temperament. Unless she was willing to give it to them, ordinary people wouldn't be able to get it. They could only watch from the side. After a while they slowly dispersed. Zhao Yun'er's house also slowly regained its peace. Not long after, Yili came back from the mountain carrying another tiger. Zhao Yun'er hurriedly called Yili to come down and take a breath. There was no hurry to deal with the tiger. Mother, Uncle Yi is so powerful today. He directly killed 2 tigers. But I have good news to tell Mother. Chapter 23-22. Mom, this rabbit was hunted by Daodu. Daodu pointed at a wild rabbit lying on the ground. Zhao Yun'er looked surprised and asked, Really? Was it hunted by Daodu? Yes. Daodu nodded heavily. Zhao Yun'er was not stingy with her praise. She touched Daodu's head and said with a smile, Daodu is great. You can give us more food tonight. Yes. Daodu's little face was filled with a brighter smile. Zhao Yun'er found that Daodu's ability was getting better and better under the guidance of Yili, a good master. He was much stronger than before. His archery skills could be used to hunt prey, which showed that he was not ordinary. If Daodu could continue to learn from Yili, this child would be so powerful in the future. As a mother, she naturally hoped that her child would become better and better. Of course, the most important thing was to be happier and happier. Seeing the smile on Daodu's little face, Zhao Yun'er knew that Daodu was happy from the bottom of his heart. He really liked to learn from Yili. Yili drank a few bowls of water and squatted down in front of the tiger. He held a dagger in his hand and lowered his head to peel the tiger's skin. Yili was afraid that the tiger's skin would be damaged and lose its integrity, so he was very careful when he peeled it. His eyes were like torches. When he was serious, he was more handsome than usual. Zhao Yun'er couldn't help but sigh in her heart. How could there be such a good-looking boy? Because Yili squatted down, Zhao Yun'er could see Yili's trembling eyelashes. His eyelashes were very long, like 2 butterfly wings. Many girls envied this kind of eyelashes, and Zhao Yun'er was no exception. As if sensing Zhao Yun'er's gaze, Yili lifted his head and their eyes met. Zhao Yun'er turned her head away in embarrassment. Ahem. She couldn't help but be infatuated again. However, she didn't have any other intentions. She was simply admiring Yili's delay. Yili's cheeks also turned slightly red for a moment. Then, he lowered his head and continued to skin the tiger seriously. After spending a lot of effort, Yili peeled off the 2 tiger skins and put them on the drying pole to dry. Zhao Yun'er went to the kitchen to prepare dinner. Since there was tiger meat for dinner, he planned to roast it, just like roast beef and mutton. There was still some cumin, chili powder and sesame seeds at home. Zhao Yun'er first smeared some salt and sauce on the tiger meat, then skewered it on a wooden stick. Seeing Zhao Yun'er's preparations, Liang Jinxiao asked curiously, Yun'er, how are we going to eat this tiger meat tonight? Why are you still using a stick to stick the meat? Zhao Yun'er smiled and explained to Liang Jinxiao that they were going to roast the meat for dinner. However, this method of eating was too advanced and didn't exist in ancient times. After all, in a place like Shuilan village, they only grew crops and rarely ate meat. Naturally, they didn't know what roast meat was. Zhao Yun'er didn't continue to explain to Liang Jinxiao. She only told Liang Jinxiao that this was a novel way of eating, and that they would know when they tried it later. After cooking the tiger meat, Zhao Yun'er moved out a table and prepared to eat it outside. She simply made a barbecue. She had forgotten how long it had been since she last had barbecue in this world. Since she remembered today, she wanted to use this opportunity to satisfy her cravings. She also asked Zhao Wenhua and Zhao Tianan to get some wood and used iron wire to make a simple barbecue stand. Chapter 23:23. The sky was a little dark, and it really felt good at this time. Everyone was eating barbecue around the fire, and it was really a different feeling. In addition to her own family, Zhao Yinar also called Mulan's family over, and the courtyard was crowded with many people. Fortunately, there were many stools at home, and they formed a circle, so it didn't seem too crowded. It was the first time that everyone had seen this way of eating. It was actually worn on a wooden stick, and they didn't know what it would taste like. However, Zhao Yinar's cooking had always been good, and she often made some novel ways of eating. Presumably, it would be the same this time. However, there was no doubt that Zhao Yinar's cooking had always been very delicious, and there was no doubt about it this time. In the face of this kind of barbecue, everyone was looking forward to what it would taste like. Compared to the taste of barbecue, the atmosphere of eating barbecue seemed to be more enjoyable. Usually, the family rarely communicated, and they only gathered at the same table when eating. Now they sat together before eating, chatting and laughing, and it was very warm. The happiest were the few children. They had fewer activities on weekdays, and this time, they felt that it was novel and fun to eat barbecue together. Zhao Yinar chatted and laughed with them while she was in charge of barbecuing the meat. Because of the cloth, when it was placed on the fire, the oil inside seeped out, and it squeaked. After a while, there was a fragrant barbecue smell. The few children stared greedily at the barbecue in Zhao Yinar's hands. Zhao Yinar smiled and comforted them. "Don't worry, it will be ready in a while. We can eat barbecue soon." Okay. After about 5 minutes of barbecuing, seeing that the meat was almost cooked, Zhao Yinar sprinkled cumin and sesame seeds on it. Because the children couldn't eat too spicy food, Zhao Yinar didn't add chili powder. As for the adults, they could eat spicy food, so Zhao Yinar added a little bit and adjusted it according to everyone's taste. There weren't many barbecued in the first round, but everyone got a skewer. When they bit into it, the fragrance of the meat spread in their mouths. Compared to the roasted pork and mutton of the 21st century, the roasted tiger meat had a different taste. After tasting the barbecued meat, the children shouted excitedly that it was delicious. Even the adults were nodding their heads and praising the taste. After hearing the praise, Zhao Yinar became more confident and continued to cook. Although it took a while to bake, everyone sat together and chatted. Time passed quickly. Unknowingly, he had already eaten 3 rounds, but he didn't feel much of a difference in his stomach. However, after eating some, he felt a little thirsty. Zhao Yinar suddenly thought of the green plum wine that she had brewed a few months ago, so she decided to bring it out. Children couldn't drink it, but adults could taste it. Compared to white wine, the alcohol content of fruit wine was relatively lower. The green plum wine had a special fragrance and tasted very good. With wine and meat, it was a different kind of enjoyment. While the family was eating and laughing together in the courtyard, reflecting the light of the fire, Mu Lianfeng accompanied the emperor down the mountain. Because it was too late, Mu Lianfeng prepared to arrange for the emperor to stay at Zhao Yunar's house. The two people had just walked into old Zhao's courtyard when they heard the laughter in the courtyard from afar. It seemed very lively. The emperor had a smile on his face and was a little curious about what had happened. Life in the countryside was really different from life in the imperial palace. Chapter 23-24. The aroma of this meat was very peculiar, and the emperor had never smelled it before. There were delicacies from all over the country in the imperial kitchen, but there were still many that he had never tasted before. Tempted by this fragrant aroma, the emperor couldn't help but sniff. When he saw everyone sitting together, chatting and laughing, as if they were drinking and chatting merrily, he became even more curious. Thus he asked Mu Lianfeng, who was standing beside him, "Mu Aiqing, what are they doing?" Mu Lianfeng was also a little confused by the situation in front of him, because he had never experienced something like this before. He didn't know what new things Zhao Yuner had come up with, but he could never keep up with Zhao Yuner's pace. Sometimes, he really wanted to crack open Zhao Yuner's skull to see where she came up with these bizarre ideas. Faced with the emperor's question, Mu Lianfeng lowered his head and replied with some embarrassment, replying, "Your Majesty, this subject also doesn't know." "Oh, is that so? This is even more interesting." The emperor's lips curled into a playful smile. Then he walked towards the bonfire. Mu Lianfeng hurried to keep up with the emperor's pace. As soon as he saw Mu Lianfeng return, Doubta's little face was instantly filled with smiles. He ran over to Mu Lianfeng and sweetly called out to Mu Lianfeng, "Daddy." Mu Lianfeng replied as he dotingly rubbed Doubta's head. He had been so busy recently that he didn't have much time to accompany his son, so he felt a little apologetic. Douda pulled Mu Lianfeng's hand and said, "Daddy, come over quickly. Mother is making roasted meat for us to eat." "Daddy, it's delicious, you should also try it later." Mu Lianfeng nodded. Only then did he realize that Zhao Yuner was making roasted meat. As for what kind of meat it was, Mu Lianfeng didn't think too much about it. When Douda saw the emperor standing beside Mu Lianfeng, he raised his head to look at the emperor, then curiously asked Mu Lianfeng, Daddy, who is this?" Mu Lianfeng glanced at the emperor, conflicted about how to answer Doudu. Before Mu Lianfeng could answer, the emperor smiled at Doudu and introduced himself. "Just call me Uncle Huang." Douda very politely greeted the emperor. "Uncle Huang." Seeing Doudu, who was so polite and well-educated, coupled with her soft and cute appearance, the emperor's smile deepened. He seemed to like Doudu a little. "Good." Mu Lianfeng's Moses Mu Lianfeng cupped his hands. "Thank you for your praise, Your Majesty." "No problem." At this moment Zhao Yuner, who was roasting meat, looked at Mu Lianfeng and the emperor. When she saw the emperor's familiar face, Zhao Yuner was slightly surprised. She didn't expect the emperor to come to Yang City again. Zhao Yuner hurriedly got up and wanted to bow to the emperor, but the emperor hurriedly gave her a look to stop her. Zhao Yuner understood the emperor's meaning. As the current emperor, his identity was a bit shocking, so he couldn't casually reveal it. If too many people knew, it would only put the emperor in more danger. Since he was visiting incognito, it meant that he didn't want others to know his identity. However, facing the current emperor, Zhao Yuner still felt a lot of pressure, because she didn't know why the emperor was here this time, but she was sure that he wouldn't come here for no reason. The emperor's thoughts were deep, and he wasn't a simple character. Zhao Yuner couldn't help but worry. She secretly prayed that nothing would happen. Chapter 23-25. Zhao Yuner did not dare to neglect the emperor, the most powerful man in the world. She replied, "It's barbecued meat. Young Master Huang might not have eaten it before." The emperor's smile carried a hint of inquiry. He raised his eyebrows and asked, "Is that so? Can I have a taste too?" How could Zhao Yuner refuse? She nodded and beckoned the emperor over. "Young Master Huang, come and sit. There are too many people here. I hope young Master Huang doesn't mind. It's a good thing that there are more people. It just so happens that I also want to join in the fun." The emperor seemed to be in a good mood. Previously, when he was in the imperial palace, he could not find anyone even if he wanted to join in the fun, because of his status as the emperor. Moreover, because of his identity as the emperor, the people around him were all trembling with fear, as if they were walking on thin ice. They were afraid that they would say something wrong, offend him, and bring disaster to themselves. How many people were willing to speak their mind to him? There were many people who flattered him, but not a single one treated him sincerely and was willing to get along with him like a friend. The more time passed, the more lonely he felt. Perhaps this was the so-called, "it's lonely at the top." The emperors of ancient times all claimed to be lonely. Indeed, after reaching this position, the emperor felt an unprecedented sense of loneliness. He could not enjoy the companionship in the imperial palace. He came out incognito and did not let others know his identity. Naturally, Others would not feel so restrained when interacting with him. Thinking of this, the emperor couldn't wait to chat with Zhao Yun'er's family, laugh a few words, and feel the liveliness. Zhao Yun'er also smiled and nodded, then beckoned the emperor to sit down. It was good that the emperor did not reveal his identity. At least the others would not feel awkward and uncomfortable sitting there. If Liang Jinxiao and Zhao Wenhua knew of the emperor's identity, they would be so scared that they would kneel on the ground. Her parents were very timid. They were so reserved in front of Mu Lianfeng. If they were in front of the emperor, they would tremble with fear, and probably not even dare to breathe loudly. It was estimated that the originally lively atmosphere would have to come to a halt. Mulan had seen the emperor before, but she didn't know who he was. After seeing the emperor, she greeted him with a smile. "Young Master Huang, you actually came? What a coincidence." The emperor also smiled at Mulan. Yes, what a coincidence. The emperor originally had a smile on his face, but when he saw Yi Li sitting in the middle of the crowd, he froze and was a little surprised. He did not expect Yi Li to know Zhao Yun'er. In that case, there was nothing suspicious about Yi Li's identity. He probably wasn't here to assassinate him. It seemed that his intuition was quite accurate. Thinking of Yi Li's kung fu, the emperor admired Yi Li even more. This young man's kung fu was too powerful, even more powerful than the guards around him. It had to be known that the guards by his side were all carefully selected, and their kung fu was considered top-notch in the Great Zhou country. But in front of Yi Li, compared to Yi Li, the difference was not small. If he could have this kind of expert by his side, it would be a good thing for him. Feeling a burning gaze fall onto him, Yi Li raised his head and looked at the emperor. The two of them looked at each other for a few seconds. Their eyes reflected the light of the fire, and the wood in the fire crackled. Chapter 23-26. He didn't expect that the person he saved on the mountain today would know Zhao Yun'er, but he still couldn't be bothered to pay attention to him. Zhao Yun'er saw this and asked jokingly, "What, do you know each other?" The emperor smiled and nodded. "That's right. Today, I was almost injured by a fierce tiger on the mountain. Fortunately, this young hero appeared in time and saved me. He can be considered my savior." Zhao Yun'er sighed in her heart. She naively thought that Yi Li had only brought back 2 tigers. She didn't expect him to save someone. Most importantly, Yi Li had become the emperor's savior. If the emperor wanted to express his gratitude, he should be able to give him a lot of benefits, right? Zhao Yun'er's eyes sparkled with glistening yellow gold. Sigh. After coming here and experiencing the torment of life, she had become very greedy for money. Her mind was filled with thoughts of money. That's even more of a coincidence. Haha, but this young hero didn't accept my thanks. I still don't know this young hero's name. The emperor sighed regretfully. Zhao Yun'er's mouth twitched. She couldn't help but sigh. Was Yi Li stupid? He didn't know how to take advantage of free benefits. Sigh, a meat pie fell from the sky and he wasn't happy. It wasn't that Zhao Yun'er was greedy for that little bit of money, but she knew that Yi Li's life was very difficult. She still remembered how Yi Li was so down and out that he didn't even have food to eat. Later on, in order to earn money, he did many dangerous things. Zhao Yun'er was really worried about his safety. If he could save up some money through the emperor's reward, it would be enough for him to live a carefree life and save him the trouble of running around in the future. Moreover, Yi Li didn't accept this reward for nothing. It was because he saved the emperor's life. It was only right for him to enjoy this reward. However, Yi Li still had a cold and indifferent attitude towards the emperor. It was as if he didn't want to pay attention to the emperor at all. He only replied indifferently, "I already said that there's no need. Since we're not friends, why should we be friends? What's the point of knowing their names?" The emperor smiled helplessly. This was the first time he met someone who gave him such a look. If this was the imperial palace, whoever dared to treat him like this would have been punished. Zhao Yun'er was also secretly worried for Yi Li. The ignorant were fearless. Fortunately, Yi Li didn't know the identity of the emperor. In addition, the one who didn't know was not guilty. The emperor probably wouldn't blame Yi Li for his attitude. In addition, Yi Li was His Majesty's savior. His Majesty wouldn't be so petty as to bicker with Yi Li. However, Zhao Yuner still pursed her lips and tried to lighten the atmosphere. Now that we're all sitting together, it must be fate. Young Master Huang, the young hero you speak of is called Yi Li. After introducing Yi Li to young Master Huang, Zhao Yuner turned to young Master Huang and said, Yi Li, this is young Master Huang. He's a noble person in the capital. For the sake of giving Zhao Yuner face, Yi Li reluctantly nodded at young Master Huang. Young Master Huang also smiled and nodded in greeting. Miss Yuner is very familiar with this young Master Yi? Amen, we're quite familiar. Haha, that's good. The Emperor lowered his guard against Yi Li even more. From time to time, he would glance at Yi Li and ponder how he could make use of this powerful youth. He admired talented people and wished that he could recruit all the capable people to his side so that they could assist him. Chapter 23-27. She knew that Yi Li was born with good looks, but the way the Emperor stared at Yi Li was a bit strange. Could it be that he had taken a fancy to Yi Li? Zhao Yuner couldn't help but imagine a romantic scene in her mind. This era didn't seem to be popular with men, but that didn't exclude the fact that people were gay. Especially those important people. Their interests and hobbies were hard to figure out. Perhaps it was because the Emperor had a harem of 3,000 beauties. It seemed that there were too many women, so he didn't have much interest in Yi Li. The more Zhao Yuner thought about it, the more she felt that Yi Li was too dangerous. What if the Emperor forced her to be with Yi Li? With the Emperor's high status, who could refuse? Wouldn't Yi Li be ruined by the Emperor? Sigh. Yi Li was a normal man. If he found out that another man had taken a fancy to her, would he feel a chill in his heart? Zhao Yuner was lost in her thoughts. It wasn't until Mu Lianfeng lightly coughed that Zhao Yuner came back to her senses. She realized that she had lost her composure, because Yi Li and the Emperor had been looking at each other for a while. The Emperor smiled slightly. Zhao Yuner felt even more embarrassed. She quickly lowered her head and continued to roast the meat to ease the awkwardness. Soon, Zhao Yuner finished roasting the meat and handed it to the Emperor to let him have a taste. After eating the tender and fragrant roast meat, the Emperor narrowed his eyes and carefully savored the taste. He couldn't help but nod his head. Then he praised Zhao Yuner. Miss Yuner, this meat tastes really good. What kind of meat is this? It's the 2 tigers that Yi Li killed. I was thinking of doing something new, so I roasted them to eat. After the Emperor heard this, he was slightly surprised for a moment. Then a playful smile appeared on his face. It was actually tiger meat. He was curious why Yi Li was carrying the tigers, but it turned out that he was carrying them back to eat. And he just happened to freeload off the good food. It had to be said that this was the first time he had eaten such a novel way of roasting meat. It was probably because he had eaten too much of the food in the imperial palace. After tasting Zhao Yuner's roasted meat, he felt that it was different. Delicious, delicious. In less than a minute, the Emperor had finished all the skewers in his hand, but he still seemed to want more. Zhao Yuner hurriedly took care of continuing to roast meat. She also took out the green plum wine at home to entertain the Emperor. The group of people continued to chat and laugh around the bonfire. Unknowingly, the night deepened. After eating for a long time, they were finally full. Zhao Yuner counted for a bit. A total of 15 kilograms of roasted meat had actually been eaten. After dividing it up, everyone ate more than half a kilogram. Their appetite was really quite big. It was late at night when the whole family began to prepare to rest. The children were also tired from high. When the night fell, they immediately felt sleepy. Zhao Yuner first helped Dao to wash up, then prepared a room for the Emperor to rest in. However, the conditions at home couldn't be compared to the imperial palace. No matter how well she prepared today, it was still too shabby for the Emperor. For the time being, it was fine to make do for one night. The Emperor also didn't pay much attention to this aspect. After the family finally rested, Zhao Yuner laid on the bed. Seeing Mu Lianfeng lying down, she quietly asked Mu Lianfeng about the purpose of the Emperor's visit. Mu Lianfeng didn't hide it from Zhao Yuner, and directly told her the reason. According to the Emperor's intention, Mu Lianfeng would have to leave here in less than a month and rush to the frontier to complete his mission. Hearing that it would be a month, Zhao Yun'er still felt that it was too fast. Chapter 23-28. Zhao Yun'er had an indescribable feeling when she thought about how long it would take for Mu Lianfeng to return. Perhaps she was used to having Mu Lianfeng by her side during this period of time, so she was reluctant to part with him. But no matter how reluctant she would not stop Mu Lianfeng. She only hoped that he could complete the task assigned by the emperor and come back as soon as possible. Mu Lianfeng reached out and took Zhao Yun'er into his arms. He said softly, "Yun'er, I have good news to tell you." Zhao Yun'er asked in confusion, "What good news?" "Yun'er, we can get married." Zhao Yun'er was stunned. This matter was too sudden for her. During this period of time, she had never expected to marry Mu Lianfeng. Because of old Madame Mu's objection, Zhao Yun'er did not want Mu Lianfeng to be in a difficult position. Moreover, whether they got married or not was not a very important matter to her. After all, she could still be with Mu Lianfeng every day and live like a married couple. She did not care about it, but she certainly hoped that she could marry Mu Lianfeng and have a more legitimate identity. Get married? And get married. Yun'er, we can finally get married. Mu Lianfeng's eyes were like stars shining brightly. Why? Yun'er, this time our marriage will be personally arranged by the emperor. You will be the most glorious bride to marry me. Zhao Yun'er instantly understood that it was the emperor's role. Indeed, with the emperor, even if old Madame Mu looked down on Zhao Yun'er's identity 10,000 times, she could not say anything. Old Madame Mu could use her life to threaten Mu Lianfeng, but she did not dare to hesitate in front of the emperor, because her objection would not only implicate herself, but more importantly, it might implicate the entire Shitzi manor. Zhao Yun'er could not help but feel sad. Why did her marriage with Mu Lianfeng have to be completed with the help of others? Why were there so many obstacles when two people were in love with each other and got married together? Zhao Yun'er only hoped that nothing would go wrong this time. Sometimes it would be easier to live a carefree life. If Mu Lianfeng did not care about old Madame Mu's life and death, he would not be afraid of old Madame Mu's threats. They would have gotten married long ago. The corner of Zhao Yun'er's mouth pulled out a smile, making her mood seem a little higher. And good. When? How about in a few days? Wouldn't it be too rushed? Zhao Yun'er shook her head. Mu Lianfeng would leave in less than a month. She couldn't wait for Mu Lianfeng to come back from the frontier fortress to get married. She nodded in agreement. I'm sure. Then Yun'er, let's go embroidery tomorrow. I want the best embroiderers in Yang City to make a wedding dress for you in a few days. Then, we'll go to the best jewelry shop to buy some jewelry for you. When the time comes, you must be the most beautiful bride. Oh right, we'll also make some clothes for father, mother and Tianan. When they attend our wedding, we'll let them attend in a grand manner. Mu Lianfeng explained his plan. He finally married the woman he loved. In addition, Zhao Yun'er did not want to get married because of him, so he wanted to give her the best things in the world this time. Zhao Yun'er was also looking forward to it after hearing Mu Lianfeng's words. It was the first time in her 2 lives that she experienced such a major event. Chapter 23-29. Because during this period of time, she had already gained experience in holding a wedding. As long as she had enough money on hand, she could quickly go to Yang City and buy the things she needed to do in the afternoon. Just as Mu Lianfeng had said, even if it was something that took a long time like a wedding dress, as long as she gave enough money and found a few embroiderers to make it overnight, she could still make a beautiful wedding dress. The two of them discussed for a while. It was already late at night, and she was very tired today, so Zhao Yun'er quickly fell asleep. The next morning, she had to make breakfast for the whole family when she woke up. Because of the emperor's arrival, Zhao Yun'er prepared a little more sumptuous food. She cooked several dishes and baked some pancakes. However, The emperor liked the salted vegetables and salted duck eggs from Zhao Yun'er's family the most. This kind of food was only eaten by ordinary people, so the emperor naturally had never tasted it before. It was because he had never tasted it that he found it novel and couldn't help but praise Zhao Yun'er. Seeing the emperor like this, Zhao Yun'er understood. She didn't need to prepare those exotic delicacies. In any case, the emperor was already tired of eating them in the palace, so why would he care? Instead, the emperor would like it if she prepared something that the emperor had never eaten before. After eating breakfast, Zhao Yun'er cut out 5 caddies of tiger meat for the several branches of old Zhao's family and prepared to send it over. Because Zhao Tianhu and Jin Zhu had separated from the main branch, they couldn't share their things with the main branch, so Zhao Yun'er specially sent the 2 of them another 5 caddies of tiger meat. Because she was busy making barbecue yesterday, she didn't have time. When it was time for old Zhao's family, the other branches were all present. They received the tiger meat from Zhao Yun'er and quickly thanked her. Tiger meat was a treasure, so many people couldn't eat it. It was thanks to Zhao Yun'er that they were able to taste such a rare thing. Zhao Wenshui wasn't home, so Zhao Yun'er placed the meat in Zhao Wenshui's kitchen. She informed Qian Zurio that she would inform Zhao Wenshui when Zhao Wenshui returned. By the way, fourth aunt, what did second uncle do? Zhao Yun'er asked curiously. It must be known that Zhao Wenshui's previous temperament was that he didn't go out. If he could be lazy at home, he would try his best to stay at home. Hearing that Zhao Wenshui was going out, Zhao Yun'er wondered if she should find a job to do. After all, Zhao Wenshui's personality had changed. He might know that he had to earn money to support his family, so he went out to earn some money. However, Zhao Wenshui was injured before. She didn't know if his injuries had healed, or if he could continue to support himself. Earning money was important, but health was even more important. After all, health was the capital of a revolution. There was still a long way to go in the future, so she had to carefully consider it. Your second uncle went to your second aunt's house. He wants to persuade her to come back. Qian Zurio replied with a smile. In fact, she was also happy to see that Zhao Wenshui was willing to live a good life. As the saying goes, if the family lives in harmony, everything will prosper. No matter what, they were still a family. She hoped that all the branches of the family could live in harmony. I see. Zhao Yun'er's lips curled into a slight smile. Her second uncle kept his word, and actually went to look for Li Chuiying. She just didn't know how Li Chuiying would react. At this time, Zhao Wenshui was a little deflated. Early in the morning he rushed to Li Chuiying's house. When he went he was full of expectations. After all, Li Chuiying had been his wife for so many years and had some feelings for him. Chapter 23:30. However, when he arrived at Li Chuiying's home, Zhao Wenshui realized that he was overthinking things. He was thinking on the bright side, but he didn't know that some things weren't as easy as he thought. He was originally happy to arrive at Li Chuiying's home, but when the Li family saw him, they came out with hoes and shovels and waved at him before he could enter the yard. You bastard, you did so many bad things to my sister, and you still have the nerve to come here? Get out of here. Li Chuiying's eldest brother, Li Dalong, almost stabbed Zhao Wenshui with a shovel. Zhao Wenshui was so scared that he hurriedly took a few steps back. He didn't want to lose his life, just because he came to your house. Li Chuiying's second brother, Li Erlang, also scolded him angrily. Shameless bastard, get out of my house. Who told you to come here? Although Zhao Wenshui was a little embarrassed by the scolding, he did let Li Chuiying down, so Li Dalong and Li Erlang's attitude was understandable. The purpose of this visit was to persuade Li Chuiying to go back with him. No matter how the Li family treated him, he should endure it and try his best to please them. Zhao Wenshui smiled fawningly and said to Li Dalong and Li Erlang, Big brother, second brother, don't be angry with me. I'm here today to apologize. Seeing the sly smile on Zhao Wenshui's face, Li Dalong and Li Erlang still put on a straight face and didn't give Zhao Wenshui any face. Haha, you're here to apologize? Are you kidding? Li Dalong snorted and rolled his eyes at Zhao Wenshui. What tricks are you playing now? It looks like you're up to no good. Li Erlang followed the atmosphere. Zhao Wenshui's face was bitter. Big brother, second brother. I'm not playing any tricks. I'm really here to apologize this time. I want to apologize to Tianyu's mother. What happened before was my fault. I let her down. Big brother, second brother. I know you're calling me a beast in your hearts. I admit that what I did was wrong. But now I know that I was wrong. Please give me a chance to apologize and turn over a new leaf. Li Dalong and Li Erlang looked at each other. Zhao Wenshui didn't look like he was lying. What he said was very sincere. However, when they thought of what Zhao Wenshui had done, Li Dalong and Li Erlang were very angry. There were some things that couldn't be fixed just by saying that you were wrong. After all, you had already caused great harm to others. Back then, Li Chuiying had suffered a great grievance when she divorced and returned to her mother's home. Because of this, many people in the village laughed at him. However, they were Li Chuiying's family after all. They couldn't possibly not protect their own sister's family after she was wronged, right? Wouldn't that chill Li Chuiying's heart? At that time, if Li Chuiying hadn't stopped them, they would have rushed to the Zhao family's house and beaten Zhao Wenshui up to vent their anger. They didn't expect that Zhao Wenshui would take the initiative to come here today. The funny thing was that he apologized for this matter so easily. Did he think that the Li family was so easy to bully and trample on? At that time, they had warned Zhao Wenshui, but they didn't expect that Zhao Wenshui would still do things his own way and cause this irreversible result. Chapter 2331. Zhao Wenshui was so scared that he trembled. He had been punched by Li Erlang before. Li Erlang was so ruthless that he almost turned him into a pig's head. Zhao Wenshui was a little scared when he saw Li Erlang's fist. Li Dalong also drove Zhao Wenshui away. Get out of here. Get out of here before we do anything to you. Otherwise, don't blame us if you look for trouble. Zhao Wenshui couldn't help but sigh in his heart. He sincerely came to apologize, but he hadn't seen Li Chuiying yet. He hadn't been forgiven by Li Chuiying. He couldn't get along with Li Dalong and Li Erlang. These two men were bad-tempered, and he couldn't confront them directly. Otherwise, he would be the one to suffer. Zhao Wenshui's heart was bitter. He looked at Li Dalong and Li Erlang pleadingly. Big brother, second brother, since I was your brother-in-law before, please let me see Tianyu's mother. I did a lot of stupid things in the past, but now I've thought it all out. No matter how you punish me, I'm willing to accept it. Because of my stupidity, I brought great harm to Tianyu's mother. Now I just want to make it up to her. Big brother, second brother, I beg you, let me see Tianyu's mother and apologize in person. If Tianyu's mother is still unwilling to forgive me, I won't continue to pester her. After Zhao Wenshui finished speaking, he almost knelt down in front of Li Dalong and Li Erlang. Zhao Wenshui's sincere attitude was completely different from before. Li Dalong and Li Erlang couldn't help but think deeply. Zhao Wenshui was hopeless in the past. Looking at Zhao Wenshui now, it seemed that he could still be saved. However, they couldn't risk the rest of their sister's life because of Zhao Wenshui's words. Now that Zhao Wenshui and Li Chuiying were divorced, it meant that the two of them had nothing to do with each other. Even if Zhao Wenshui went to Li Chuiying to apologize, what was the point? It wouldn't have any effect at all. You'd better go back. My sister will never forgive you. Stop wasting your time. He had already recovered. You came here on purpose. Aren't you trying to make things difficult for him? After some thought, Li Dalong and Li Erlang decided not to let Zhao Wenshui see Li Chuiying, lest Li Chuiying bring up some sad memories. Big brother. Second brother. Zhao Wenshui suddenly felt desperate. He had already said what he needed to say, but the Li family refused to let him see Li Chuiying. What could he do? Hurry up and get lost. Why are you still standing there? Don't you understand human language? Zhao Wenshui was unwilling to give up. It wasn't easy for her to make up her mind to come and beg Li Chuiying for forgiveness. How could she just go back like this? He still wanted to live a good life in the future. Thus, Zhao Wenshui called out to the Li family's house. Tianyu's mother, Tianyu's mother. Zhao Wenshui's shout didn't manage to get Li Chuiying out, but it managed to get old Madame Li out. As soon as Li Chuiying saw old Madam Li, he hurriedly greeted her. Mother, mother. It's me. Old Madam Li narrowed her eyes and walked towards Zhao Wenshui. She had heard Zhao Wenshui, Li Dalong, and Li Erling's conversation in the courtyard. She couldn't help but sigh. This son-in-law. If he knew this would happen, why did he do it in the first place? Why did he have to do something wrong and hurt someone before he knew how to repent? Mena. There's not a single good thing. They didn't know how to cherish their daughter-in-law, and went out to find another woman. Chapter 2332. Old Madam Li replied calmly. I may be old, but I'm not blind. Of course I know it's you. Zhao Wenshui smiled embarrassedly and said in a flattering tone. Mother, I'm so happy to see you. Hee. Old Madam Li sneered twice. Now his mouth had become so sweet. She had never seen Zhao Wenshui speak like this before. Mother. Big brother and second brother won't let me see Tianyu's mother. Can you do me a favor and let me see her? Zhao Wenshui could only place his hope on old Madam Li. Li Dalong and Li Erling quickly said, Mother, don't listen to this bastard. If you let him see little sister, it will only make her unhappy. That's right, mother. Don't give this bastard a chance to harm little sister. Old Madam Li remained silent. She glanced at Zhao Wenshui and said, You're quite thoughtful this time. You're different from before. Zhao Wenshui quickly raised his hand and swore. Mother, of course. How can I be the same as before? I really want to apologize to Tianyu's mother. Old Madam Li raised her eyebrows. You didn't come here for this, did you? Zhao Wenshui scratched his head embarrassedly after being exposed by old Madam Li. As expected, the older the wiser. Old Madam Li could see through him at a glance. Mother. In fact, other than apologizing to Tianyu's mother, the most important thing I came here for today is to discuss with Tianyu's mother whether she can go back with me and live a good life. I already know I was wrong. I did a lot of stupid things in the past. Now, for the sake of Tianyu and to have a complete family, I hope Tianyu's mother can go back with me. This time, I won't let her down. Otherwise, I'll be struck by lightning and die a horrible death. Mother, just promise me. Let me talk to Tianyu's mother. Old Madam Li frowned as she listened to Zhao Wenshui's words. She had lived for a long time and knew whether he was telling the truth or not. Zhao Wenshui sounded sincere this time. It didn't seem like he was lying. Li Dalong and Li Erling were anxious, afraid that old Madam Li would agree. Mother, we can't trust him. Last time, he said the same thing and promised to go back. In the end, didn't he still bully our little sister? We've already been tricked once. We can't be tricked again. Old Madam Li waved at Li Dalong and Li Erling. It was said that people should be persuaded to reconcile and not to break up. Although her daughter didn't suffer any grievances after her divorce, it was inevitable for a divorced woman to be gossiped by the villagers when she returned to her maternal home. No one wanted to be the subject of discussion. Li Chuiying couldn't continue to stay in her maiden home. She wasn't that old. She still needed to find a husband so that she would have someone to rely on for the rest of her life. However, there weren't many reliable men. He had asked a matchmaker to look for a suitable candidate, but he hadn't found one. If Zhao Wenshui could really repent, why not give him a chance? What if he really wanted to live a good life in the future? After returning to her maiden home, old Madam Li could see that Li Chuiying was still thinking about her son, Zhao Tianyu, every day. If she went back with Zhao Wenshui, she would be able to take care of Zhao Tianyu again. She wouldn't have to think about him every day like now. Of course, this was only her idea. In the end, Li Chuiying had to make the decision. Chapter 2333. Zhao Wenshui nodded excitedly. Since old Madam Li said so, it meant that there was still hope. Unlike Li Dalong and Li Erlang, who refused him directly and didn't have any hope, being a mother-in-law was the best. Zhao Wenshui waited expectantly in front of the yard for old Madam Li to talk to Li Chuiying. And then Li Chuiying would come out to see him. Although Li Chuiying didn't have much love, Zhao Wenshui knew that Li Chuiying lived with him and treated him wholeheartedly before. She was a very good woman. There was no one else around him except for Li Chuiying. No matter what, he was full of guilt towards her. If Li Chuiying was willing to go back with him, he would definitely treat her well for the rest of her life. Old Madam Li turned and went into the room. Although Li Dalong and Li Erlang were unwilling, they couldn't go against old Madam Li's wishes. At this time, Li Chuiying was sewing clothes in the room. She had returned to her parents' home for a while and didn't have much to do every day. It just so happened that her two brothers' children needed some clothes to wear, so she simply cut cloth and came back to make clothes at home. At this time, she was almost halfway done. She also heard the voices outside the room clearly. She also didn't expect that Zhao Wenshui would come to the Li family. She thought that this heartless man wouldn't think of her at all. Or even if Zhao Wenshui came, it would be the same as last time. He had no choice but to come and coax her, because there was no woman at home to take care of him. But this time, Zhao Wenshui's words did sound like he had come to his senses. Li Chuiying's mood was very complicated. She had no feelings for Zhao Wenshui at all. After all, this man hurt her too deeply. What she missed the most in her heart were her two children. Zhao Jing was married for the time being. Even if she didn't live with Zhao Wenshui, it wouldn't affect Zhao Jinger. Now that Zhao Jinger had married into a rich family, although she would only be a concubine, she would not have to worry about food and drink. Her life would definitely be better than that of an ordinary family. However, Zhao Tianyu was still a child. Zhao Wenshui was a man who couldn't even cook. How could he take good care of Zhao Tianyu? Zhao Tianyu didn't know if it was too hot or too cold. Without her, his mother, by his side, he couldn't be at ease. Zhao Wenshui had nothing to do with her, but Zhao Tianyu was her flesh and blood. If she had a choice, how many mothers would abandon their sons? Li Chuiying sighed heavily. The more he thought about it, the more worried he became. His hands paused for a moment as he listened to the commotion outside. After a while, old Madam Li Chuiying entered the room. Li Chuiying hurriedly lowered her head and started sewing again, as if she hadn't heard what the servants were saying. Old Madam Li approached Li Chuiying and said to Li Chuiying, "My dear daughter, Zhao Wenshui is here. Do you want to go out and take a look?" Li Chuiying shook her head. "No. Go and take a look. I think he's here to sincerely apologize this time. Is he different from before?" "Mother, forget it. I still don't want to go. What's the use of his apology? Do I have to go back with him and continue living with him? Seeing him will only make me feel more depressed. It's better not to see him." Li Chuiying replied to old Madam Li as she sewed the clothes in her hands. Old Madam Li sighed. "My dear daughter, if he's really willing to change this time, won't you reconsider?" Chapter 2334. Mother. Li Chuiying felt a little sad when she heard that. Actually, she knew that it wasn't a good idea to stay in her parents' home forever. After all, her two brothers had already gotten married. Her mother and brother didn't have any objections, but her two sisters-in-law didn't want her to stay at home forever. From the moment she got married, she was no longer a member of the Li family. This time, the divorce was too sudden. She had nowhere else to go, so she could only come back to her parents' home. That was why she stayed there for a while. Previously, she had been thinking about finding a reliable man who wouldn't stay at her parents' home for too long and cause trouble for them. However, the matchmakers had been helping her find some unreliable men. Some of them weren't even as good as Zhao Wenshui. Those with good character were too poor to eat. She didn't know how she would live after marrying them. Those with good conditions had bad character. The man she met a few days ago liked to beat his wife. Her previous wife was beaten to death by him. How could she dare to marry him? Wasn't she tired of living? After looking for a few men, she still couldn't find a suitable one. She couldn't marry casually. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to live a peaceful life like she did with Zhao Wenshui. If she really had to make do casually, she might as well live with Zhao Wenshui. She wanted to divorce because she hoped that her life would be better after the divorce. The first half of her life had been so miserable. She couldn't live the second half of her life in such a sorry state. Girl, when you're old, you need children to take care of you. Otherwise, who will take care of you when you're old? Think about yourself. Mother hopes that your life will get better and better, old Madame Li said as she patted Li Chueying's shoulder and sighed. Li Chueying lowered her head. It would be a lie if she said that there wasn't a trace of emotion in her heart. Anyway, it's fine to go and see how Zhao Wenshui is doing. What if he really changes? After thinking for a while, Li Chueying finally nodded. Okay, mother. I'll go talk to him. Okay. Old Madame Li had a smile on her face. Li Chueying also came out of the room. Zhao Wenshui, who was anxiously waiting outside the courtyard, was overjoyed when he heard Li Chueying's familiar voice. Tianyu's mother. Zhao Wenshui shouted excitedly. Li Chueying didn't show much emotion. He walked up to Zhao Wenshui and replied faintly. Why are you looking for me? Tianyu's mother. I am here to apologize to you. Facing Li Chueying, Zhao Wenshui suddenly felt a little guilty and embarrassed. He smiled with a hint of flattery and said nervously to Li Chueying. Zhao Wenshui was used to bossing Li Chueying around. Li Chueying had never seen this side of Zhao Wenshui. It seemed that Zhao Wenshui really was a little different. Li Chueying didn't reply. Zhao Wenshui continued to speak. Tianyu's mother, I've done a lot of stupid things to you in the past. I know I don't have the face to beg for your forgiveness, but I still want to sincerely apologize to you. Actually, I came this time to ask you to go back with me and live a good life together. After going through so much, I realized how important it is to live a good life as a family. Chapter 23:35. Zhao Wenshui raised his hand and swore. Then, he looked at Li Chueying expectantly. Li Chueying's expression changed slightly. In fact, when she saw Zhao Wenshui like this, she felt a little emotional. In the past, she didn't even dare to hope that Zhao Wenshui would say something like this. Today Zhao Wenshui said it. You don't have to apologize. Since we're divorced, I won't take what you did to heart. However, I think I'm living a good life now. I don't want to go back. Li Chueying refused. Tianyu's mother. Zhao Wenshui, we were husband and wife. When we divorced, it meant that our fate as husband and wife was over. There's no need for us to continue being together. Isn't it good for us to live our own lives? If you like any woman, you can marry her. I'm not here to stop you. Li Chueying smiled bitterly. Zhao Wenshui's throat suddenly choked. He couldn't say anything. He also felt very uncomfortable in his heart. Sigh, Zhao Wenshui sighed heavily. Since Li Chueying said so, no matter how thick-skinned he was, he couldn't beg Li Chueying to go back with him. Moreover, he was in the wrong first. Li Chueying was already benevolent enough to talk to him. How could he expect Li Chueying to treat him the same way? Then, okay. Tianyu's mother, I know what I did hurt you. It's normal that you don't want to go back with me and don't trust me. I have nothing to say. Today, I made a special trip here to apologize to you. Then I'll leave first. Zhao Wenshui was a little incoherent. He turned around and was about to leave in disappointment. Seeing Zhao Wenshui like this, Li Chueying felt strange. She felt a little heartache. Wait! Li Chueying called out to Zhao Wenshui. Zhao Wenshui turned to look at Li Chueying excitedly. He thought that Li Chueying had changed his mind and was willing to go back with him. Li Chueying said, It's not easy for you to come here. It's almost noon. Why don't you stay for lunch? Otherwise, I won't be able to make it back in time for lunch. Zhao Wenshui had mixed feelings. He was a little disappointed but also happy. He was disappointed that Li Chueying was not willing to go back with him, as he had expected. He was happy that Li Chueying had asked him to stay for dinner, which meant that she still missed him. Zhao Wenshui pursed his lips and nodded with a smile. Mrs. Li said, I'll go to the kitchen and get busy. You used to be my son-in-law. Go and cook 2 eggs and some dishes. Mom, I'll cook with you. Li Chueying followed Mrs. Li into the kitchen. She didn't want to continue facing Zhao Wenshui in the courtyard. The more she faced Zhao Wenshui, the more soft-hearted she became. Li Chueying was afraid that she couldn't control herself. In the end, she was willing to go back to her hometown with Zhao Wenshui. Zhao Wenshui's gaze followed Li Chueying until Li Chueying's back disappeared. Then he looked away resentfully. Li Dalong, and Li Erlang's expressions were a little ugly. He was just a heartless bastard. They didn't know what his mom and sister were thinking. They were actually willing to continue talking to him. Sigh, there was something wrong with their heads. Li Dalong and Li Erlang rolled their eyes at Zhao Wenshui and went to get busy. Chapter 2336. Li Dalong glanced at Zhao Wenshui faintly and replied, "No need." It was his mother and sister's business if they wanted to talk to Zhao Wenshui, but he didn't want to care. Anyway, he didn't want to be nice to Zhao Wenshui anymore. Zhao Wenshui was still thick-skinned. He licked his lips and said, "Big brother, let me do it. I'm tired from chopping wood. I should do this kind of tiring work. You go rest." Li Dalong stopped what he was doing and frowned as he thought about it. Since someone wanted to suffer, he couldn't stop him. Thus, he threw the axe in his hand at Zhao Wenshui. "Then I'll let you do it." "Okay." Zhang Wenshui took the axe and began chopping wood. The wood didn't move at all when he swung the axe, unlike Li Dalong, who could split the wood directly. Zhao Wenshui was a little embarrassed. Li Dalong glanced at Zhao Wenshui with some disdain, as if the words "useless" were written on his face. Zhao Wenshui smiled awkwardly and continued to swing the axe in his hand. This time, he used all his strength and chopped the wood heavily. Fortunately, this time he finally made a hole. He continued to swing the axe, and the wood finally split. After chopping only one piece of wood, Zhao Wenshui felt that he had used up most of his strength. He didn't have enough strength to continue chopping. Huff! Zhao Wenshui sighed heavily. He had no choice but to chop. No matter how tired he was, he could only grit his teeth and continue. Otherwise, he would be despised by the Li family. Zhao Wenshui continued to chop wood with one breath. After a while, his whole back was soaked with sweat. Li Dalong saw that Zhao Wenshui couldn't muster up any energy and felt even more disgusted. He was a man, but he couldn't even do this kind of work. Looking at Zhao Wenshui's posture, he knew that he used to be lazy at home and didn't do much work. Men who were used to working wouldn't be as weak as Zhao Wenshui after regular training. Fortunately, his little sister had divorced this man. Otherwise, who knew how much more she would have suffered? At this time, Mrs. Li and Li Chuiying, who were busy in the kitchen, saw the movement outside. Old Madam Li sighed in front of Li Chuiying. "Daughter, look at this Zhao Wenshui. He actually took the initiative to help us. In the past, when he came over, he would cross his legs like a master. It seems that his temperament has really changed. Men, it's not easy to learn from their mistakes. You have to give him a chance." Li Chuiying knew that old Madam Li was speaking up for Zhao Wenshui. In fact, when she saw Zhao Wenshui taking the initiative to help chop the firewood and Ye's insistence, she was surprised for a moment. After all, she knew very well how lazy Zhao Wenshui was in old Zhao's house. Now that he took the initiative to help chop the firewood, it was really not easy. It showed that Zhao Wenshui really wanted to change and live a good life. "Let's wait and see," Li Chuiying said. Who knew if Zhao Wenshui was pretending? If Zhao Wenshui could continue like this, Li Chuiying would be happy to go back and live with Zhao Wenshui. It wasn't because she forgave Zhao Wenshui, but because she missed Zhao Tianyu. With her, Zhao Tianyu could be taken care of. He couldn't count on others. "Haha, okay." Old Madam Li laughed. After a while, old Madam Li and Li Chuiying finished cooking and called Zhao Wenshui to eat. Zhao Wenshui heaved a sigh of relief. He finally didn't have to force himself to chop the firewood. Chapter 2337. After today's ordeal, his back would definitely be sore. He didn't know if he would be able to get out of bed tomorrow. His body wasn't like a normal person's. He had suffered such a serious injury before and hadn't fully recovered, so his body was very weak. He had used too much strength today, and used up all the energy he had accumulated over the past few days. The Li family didn't prepare a sumptuous meal. There were only a few vegetarian dishes, and a bowl of scrambled eggs. But Zhao Wenshui wasn't picky. He sat at the table and wolfed down the food. As he ate, he praised the taste of the food. Old Madame Li was amused by Zhao Wenshui's sweet words. If it wasn't for the dirty things Zhao Wenshui had done before, she would be quite satisfied with this son-in-law. After lunch, the Li family didn't keep Zhao Wenshui for long and let Zhao Wenshui go back. Coincidentally, the matchmaker who had helped Li Chuiying find a match came to the Li family again in the afternoon. She said that she had a marriage to introduce and wanted to invite Li Chuiying to meet in Yang City tomorrow. The two of them could talk face to face and see if they were suitable. The matchmaker said that the man this time was a bachelor. He hadn't married because his family was poor. However, the man's appearance and character were very good, so she could consider him. In the eyes of the villagers, a bachelor was much better than a man with a child. After all, not having to raise a child could save a lot of food. If the two of them worked hard together, they could survive this time. Old Madame Li asked for Li Chuiying's opinion. Li Chuiying thought about it and felt that he could agree. If this bachelor was good, she would marry him. In any case, she would be soft-hearted and go back to live with Zhao Wenshui. The matchmaker smiled and told him the time and place, then left the Li family. Zhao Yin'er went back home from old Zhao's house and busied herself with various household chores during the day. Mu Lianfeng went to the camp with the emperor. He was probably reporting on work again. Zhao Yin'er didn't worry about Mu Lianfeng's official business. After all, she was just a woman. No matter how good she wasn't as professional as Mu Lianfeng. With so many things to do every day, how could she have the time to worry about this and that? Zhao Yin'er told Liang Jinxiao and Zhao Wenhua about her marriage with Mu Lianfeng. Liang Jinxiao and Zhao Wenhua were very excited. What they were most concerned about now was Zhao Yun'er's marriage. Seeing that Zhao Yun'er had finally succeeded this time, they put down their worries. Zhao Yun'er felt a little helpless. She didn't feel anything, but her parents were very excited. Zhao Wenhua and Liang Jinxiao couldn't wait any longer. They hurriedly informed the rest of old Zhao's family about the good news. Zhao Yun'er then asked Zhao Wenhua and Liang Jinxiao to prepare to go to the town tomorrow to customize new clothes. By the time he got married, everyone would definitely be dressed to the nines. Zhao Yun'er didn't want old Madame Mu to look down on her family. Hearing that the whole family was going shopping in Yang City, Daodu and Zhao Tianfu were very happy. Adults liked lively places, and children liked it even more. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Zhao Yun'er decided to take Liang Jinxiao and Zhao Wenhua to Yang City to walk around. If she remembered correctly, Liang Jinxiao and Zhao Wenhua didn't go out much and rarely saw the bustle in the city. Not to mention the delicious food and fun things in the city. When it was almost noon, Zhao Yun'er took care of cooking. Because the emperor was here, lunch was a little more sumptuous. Chapter 2338. Other than this, she also bought 2 fish from a fisherman in the village and made a dish of braised fish. She also fried a plate of green pepper scrambled eggs, a plate of shepherd's purse, a plate of roasted eggplant, a bowl of green bean curd soup, and a dish of fried leeks. These dishes could only be eaten during the new year in the village. However, most of the dishes that Zhao Yun'er made were home-cooked dishes. Those few meat dishes were also made according to her own recipe. She tried her best not to let the emperor eat them. Before she finished making lunch, Mu Lianfeng came back from the camp with the emperor. As soon as they entered the courtyard, the fragrance of the dishes in the kitchen floated out. It smells so good. I don't know what kind of delicious food Miss Yun'er made for lunch. The emperor's eyes lit up with a bit of expectation. The emperor trusted Zhao Yun'er's culinary skills very much, so he knew that the food she made would definitely be delicious. Mu Lianfeng said with a smile, "The village is lacking in resources, so we can only use local ingredients. It can't compare to the imperial palace. Yun'er only made home-cooked dishes, so I hope the emperor doesn't dislike them." The emperor waved his hand and said with a smile, "Mu Aiqing is joking. How could this one dislike them? This one is tired of eating the good things in the imperial palace, so it's good to change the taste. This one likes to eat home-cooked dishes here. When in Rome, do as the Romans do." Mu Lianfeng made a rare joke with the emperor. It was only at this time that the two of them didn't have that much restraint between them. The emperor's lips curled into a smile. Of course. Why can't this one eat the food of the entire Great Zhou country's citizens? If possible, this one also wants to experience the life of a normal person. Just like Yun'er's family, leisurely and comfortable. How many people yearn for that? Mu Lianfeng thought for a moment, looking at the high and mighty person in front of him. Actually sitting in that position, his heart should be very lonely, right? Fighting and scheming every day. There were too many things to take care of, and there were too many worries on his shoulders. How could he be happy with such a heavy burden? Even if he had everything in the world, without happiness, what was the use of having so much? Mu Lianfeng felt that it would be better to live like an ordinary person. At least he would not have so many troubles every day. As long as they put in new efforts to eat and drink their fill, it would be perfect for the family to live happily together. If your majesty likes it, you can come and play more often. The emperor nodded with a smile, and did not refuse. The two of them sat down in the courtyard. Liang Jinxiao held Tian in his arms. Zhao Yun'er was cooking in the kitchen, so she could only take care of Tian. However, this child was very obedient, so she didn't have to worry too much about it. She held him in her arms and obediently laid on her body, not making a fuss. As soon as she saw Mu Lianfeng come back, Tian became energetic. She waved at Mu Lianfeng, then made a gesture to ask for a hug. Mu Lianfeng had a doting smile on his face. He walked to Liang Jinxiao and took Tian from Liang Jinxiao's hands. Yeah, Tian, who couldn't speak yet, was excitedly shouting something. Mu Lianfeng touched Tian's little face. This little girl was really strange. She knew that he hadn't been with her for a few days, so she wanted to hug him when she saw him. The emperor looked at Tian in Mu Lianfeng's arms, and also liked her very much. He asked curiously, "Whose child is this?" Chapter 2339. You and Yun'er's daughter? The emperor asked in shock. This child looked like she was only a few months old. The last time he saw Zhao Yun'er was not even pregnant. Where did such a big daughter come from? No. Mu Lianfeng shook his head and then explained. Yun'er felt sorry for the child, so she adopted her. The emperor finally understood and nodded. So it's like this. This child looks very lovely. You've gained a daughter for nothing. Mu Lianfeng looked at Tian in his arms, and the doting smile on his face deepened. Yes, I gained a daughter for nothing. She seems to be sensible sometimes, but sometimes she likes to make trouble. She's a mischievous girl. Haha. The emperor laughed heartily, then moved closer to Mu Lianfeng and reached out to tease Tian. Tian gave the emperor face and smiled sweetly at him. A child's smile was undoubtedly the purest thing in the world. The emperor, who was used to seeing darkness and filth, couldn't help but feel moved when he saw Tian smile, and he liked Tian even more. Only Tian could make him completely let go of the grudge in his heart. What's the child's name? The emperor asked casually. Her name is Tian, Mu Lianfeng said. Tian, that's a good name. It suits her very well. Especially when he saw Tian's sweet smile. It was a perfect match. Can I hold her? The emperor couldn't help but ask. He really wanted to hold such a cute girl in his arms and love her. Yes. Mu Lianfeng nodded. The emperor reached out to hold her. And Tian also reached out to respond to the emperor's hug. The emperor took the little girl from Mu Lianfeng's arms. Her whole body was soft, and there was a sweet smell. It smelled good, and it made people feel inexplicably at ease. It wasn't that he didn't have his own princes and princesses, but he didn't often hold those children. Hesitation was often not with the children, and those children were also very distant from him. She wasn't sensible when she was young, but after spending some time together, she became closer to others. When they grew up and became more sensible, they would have the ability to recognize others and become more scheming. The emperor didn't want his children to get close to him with ulterior motives. She hoped that all her feelings could be purer and not mixed with other motives. Tiantian had fulfilled his expectations for his children. She was neither intimate with him, nor did she have any ulterior motive. Hugging the person in his arms, the emperor's joy increased even more. She called out Tiantian's name a few times, and the day before yesterday, she also gave her face and giggled. This child is really delightful. If the child can be given away, I really hope that Mu Aiqing can give this child to me, the emperor said jokingly. Mu Lianfeng smiled. It's her fortune that your majesty likes her. Haha. However, in the next second, the smile on the emperor's face disappeared. Seeing the emperor's expression, Mu Lianfeng asked curiously, Your Majesty, what's wrong? I feel a slight warmth in my abdomen, and it's a little wet. Mu Lianfeng was slightly stunned, and then he immediately realized what had happened. The expression on his face was a little serious, because he knew that the situation seemed to be a little serious. Chapter 2340. This person was the current emperor. Of all the people she could pee on, she had to pee on the emperor. If the emperor's health was affected, no one would be able to protect this child. Mu Lianfeng nervously observed the emperor's reaction. Then he coughed lightly and said to the emperor, Your Majesty, Tiantian probably peed on your body. HM? The emperor was also shocked. Pee. She actually peed on his body? All these years, who dared to pee on his body? That was a great disrespect, and would be beheaded. Today, he was peed on by a baby. This baby's guts really went against the heavens, however. When the emperor lowered his head to look at Tiantian, the child didn't notice at all. Instead, she continued to giggle at the emperor. Previously, the emperor thought Tiantian's smile was very cute, as bright as the sun. Now he suddenly felt that this child was doing it on purpose. A knife hidden in a smile. On the surface, she was smiling at you, but behind your back, she peed on you. A wry smile appeared on the emperor's face. If it weren't for the fact that Tiantian was just a child, a few months old baby, who didn't have her own thoughts and consciousness, he would have suspected that the child did it on purpose. Mu Lianfeng hurriedly took Tiantian from the emperor's hands, then apologized to the emperor. Your Majesty, please forgive her. This child is not sensible. Please don't bicker with her and forgive her. The emperor chuckled. Mu Aiqing, look at what you're saying. Am I such a petty person? Bicker with a child? Your Majesty, of course not. It's just that Tiantian still offended your Majesty. This subject has to beg for your Majesty's forgiveness on her behalf. The emperor waved his hand. All right, it's not a problem. Can Mu Aiqing help me find clean clothes, so that I can change into them? At this time, the emperor's abdomen was soaked and stained with urine. Naturally, he had to wash it off. All right, this subject will find a clean set of clothes for your Majesty. However, this subject has worn them before. Would your Majesty mind? It's fine. Good. Mu Lianfeng dug out his own set of clothes and brought the emperor to the room to change. After changing her clothes, Zhao Yun'er's meal was also ready. The whole family sat together and had a joyful meal. The next morning, they took a carriage to Yang City. The emperor followed Mu Lianfeng to the Shitzi mansion. The emperor wanted to tell old Madame Mu that he wanted to personally preside over Mu Lianfeng and Zhao Yun'er's wedding. Old Madame Mu did not expect that even the emperor would interfere in Mu Lianfeng's marriage. He was so determined to marry Zhao Yun'er. Previously, she did not agree with the emperor's marriage. She felt that Zhao Yun'er was not worthy of Mu Lianfeng. But now he realized that this woman was not simple. Even the emperor attached great importance to her, and personally conferred her the title of Imperial Madam. This showed that this woman had her own abilities. It was not easy to receive the emperor's praise. No matter how many opinions she had to trust the emperor's judgment. Therefore, old Madame Mu did not continue to object to Mu Lianfeng and Zhao Yun'er's marriage. Of course, more importantly, she did not dare to object. On the other hand, Zhao Yun'er brought the whole family to Yang City for a stroll. There were many people coming and going on the streets of Yang City. It was unusually lively. Zhao Wenhua, Liang Jinxiao, and Zhao Tianan often came to Yang City. They liked to see the lively streets. Chapter 2341. There were all kinds of shops on both sides of the street, selling all kinds of things. When he saw an old man selling candied haws, Dowdo immediately rushed over and asked the old man, "Grandpa, how much does one stick of candied haws cost?" "2 copper coins for 1 stick. Little child, do you want 1 stick?" Lil P nodded heavily. "Yes, I want 2 skewers. Uncle, you should also have 2 skewers." After Dowdo finished speaking, he looked at Zhao Yuner behind him and said to Zhao Yuner, "Mother, can Dowdo eat some candied haws?" "Of course." Zhao Yuner walked forward and took out some change from her pocket. "Dowdo wants 2 sticks, Tianfu wants 2 sticks. Father, Mother, Tianan Xinshin, and Yili, do you guys want some candied haws?" When Zhao Yuner asked this, Zhao Yuner's family was slightly stunned. Candied haws were for children to eat. How could they as adults eat candied haws? Zhao Tianan smiled shyly. "Sister, you can buy some for Dowdo and Tianfu. We don't need it. If we still eat candied haws at this age, won't we be laughed at?" Zhao Yuner replied with a serious expression. "Who said that only children can eat candied haws and not adults? I want to buy a stick to eat. Mother, I'll buy one for you too. You're pregnant, so you'll definitely like to eat these sweet and sour things." After Zhao Yuner finished speaking, Yili stood on Zhao Yuner's side in agreement. Miss Yuner is right. Candied haws aren't only for children. Give me one too." Zhao Yuner was amused by Yili. Did he have to be so cooperative with her? Mu Hin also said shyly, "Sister Yuner, give me a skewer too." After that, Zhao Yuner bought a stick of candied haws for everyone. They ate as they walked. When she saw something delicious, Zhao Yuner would buy some for her family. Since it was rare for them to go out, they had to eat and drink well. If he couldn't finish the food he bought, he could bring it back to continue eating. It was not so convenient in the countryside. Sometimes they might not be able to eat whatever they wanted to eat. Even if they had the money, they could not buy it. After eating and walking around, Zhao Yuner brought the family to a clothing store and tailored a few sets of clothes for each of them. The fabric of the clothes was of the highest quality. It was a rare luxury. In fact, the money that the emperor bestowed to her was not enough to use up if she relied on the speed at which she spent money in the countryside. So sometimes, she had to be extravagant where she needed to be. Moreover, this time, Mu Lianfeng had specially given her more money. After everything was settled, Zhao Yuner went to buy some things for the wedding. Unexpectedly, she bumped into Li Chuiying in Yang City. Early in the morning, Li Chuiying came to Yang City because he had promised Matchmaker. He went to meet the so-called bachelor that Matchmaker had mentioned at the agreed time and place. Coincidentally, she knew this bachelor. It was Zhao Ping. Li Chuiying did not expect this person to be Zhao Ping. Zhao Ping was also very surprised to see Li Chuiying. The two of them sat at the table facing each other and smiled awkwardly as they greeted each other. When Matchmaker saw them, she asked, "Oh, you know each other?" Both of them nodded. Zhao Ping looked shy. "She used to be my sister-in-law." "What? Sister-in-law?" "Yes. But they're not biological brothers. They're from the same clan." Matchmaker's eyes darted around. This was not going to be easy. Chapter 2342. However, she was a matchmaker, and her purpose was to facilitate a marriage. Only when the marriage was successful could she get a red packet and earn money. She didn't care so much, and could only persuade the two of them to be together. The matchmaker chuckled and said, "That means the two of you are really fated to be together. It's a good thing that you knew each other before. You only know each other after interacting with each other, so I don't need to say more. In my opinion, the two of you are perfect for each other. Why don't you live a good life together?" After the matchmaker said this, Zhao Ping and Li Chuiying both sighed at the fate between them. They already knew each other, but they didn't expect the matchmaker to introduce them. This was the first time Zhao Ping asked someone to look for his family. He wanted to find a woman to spend the rest of his life with. It was too lonely to live alone, without a wife by his side. Sometimes he couldn't even eat a hot meal. Unlike other men who went out to work, their wives could prepare meals for them. If he went out to work, he had to do it himself. He worked hard to earn money during this period, and had accumulated some money. If he could really marry a woman, he would buy 1 or 2 mu of land and farm well. In addition to going out to work, he would be able to earn money back. He wouldn't have to live a poor life. Although Li Chueying wasn't good-looking, he was still acceptable. He wasn't picky, as long as the woman didn't criticize him. After all, he knew that he had the qualifications and didn't have the capital to be picky. He couldn't expect an old and poor bachelor like him to be able to find a young and beautiful woman. As long as the woman was willing to live a good life with him, he would be happy. Zhao Ping knew how Li Chueying divorced Zhao Wenshui back then. It was because Zhao Wenshui had gone too far. No wonder Li Chueying came to him. On the other hand, Li Chueying really wanted to live a good life with Zhao Wenshui back then. If he could really be with Li Chueying, he definitely wouldn't be like Zhao Wenshui. Li Chueying also knew Zhao Ping's character. This man had helped her more than once or twice before. He was an honest man who could bear hardships and endure hardships. He was a suitable man to live with. It was just that his family was a little poor in the past, and he didn't have parents to help him, so he didn't get married. It was for the best that she could marry Zhao Ping in another way. Putting aside the fact that Zhao Ping was suitable for her, she could marry into the Shuilan village if she followed Zhao Ping. Zhao Ping's house and old Zhao's house were not far apart, so it was very convenient for her to take care of Zhao Tianyu. As for whether she would be ridiculed after marrying Zhao Ping, she didn't care at all. The most important thing was to live one's own life. Whether one felt good or not was the most important. When Matchmaker saw that Li Chueying and Zhao Ping were deep in thought and did not say anything, she asked anxiously, "Say something, you two. Can you at least tell me if it's suitable?" Zhao Ping blushed and said shyly, "I don't think it's a problem, but I don't know what sister-in-law thinks." Li Chueying blushed slightly and looked up at Zhao Ping. She didn't expect that Zhao Ping would be willing to be with her. After all, she knew very well what kind of beauty she had. A good man like Zhao Ping deserved an even better woman. Li Chueying said, "Brother Zhao Ping, there's something I don't know if you can promise me." "What is it, sister-in-law? Just say it." Chapter 2343. As long as she could take good care of Zhao Tianyu, being with Zhao Ping was a good choice. Li Chueying knew that compared to Zhao Wenshui, Zhao Ping was definitely more suitable to be her man. He was the type to lead a good life. After marrying Zhao Ping, there would be no interference from her parents-in-law. She could be the head of the household and live a better life than in old Zhao's house. Zhao Ping thought that Li Chueying would have some requests. Didn't women usually talk about money when they talked about conditions? Li Chueying wasn't particular about this. After hearing Li Chueying's words, Zhao Ping felt that Li Chueying was a good woman who took care of her family. If he married such a woman and had children with her, she would definitely be able to take good care of the children. Zhao Ping smiled honestly and nodded in agreement. "Sure, whatever you say. Tianyu is my nephew. You're his mother, so it's only right that you take care of him. I'm a man, so I won't be so petty. This isn't a problem at all. Why would I disagree?" After hearing Zhao Ping's words, Li Chueying had a rough idea of what to do. She smiled and looked at Zhao Ping with increasing satisfaction. Zhao Ping really didn't disappoint her. Matchmaker was good at reading people's expressions. Seeing the two of them like this, she knew that it was about time. She smiled and said to Li Chueying, "Girl, look at how good Zhao Ping is. If you miss this opportunity, you won't get another one. Why don't you agree? You two can set a good date to be together. It's not easy to find a suitable person at your age." Li Chueying lowered her head in embarrassment and replied with a grunt. Zhao Ping also smiled foolishly. Li Chueying's agreement meant that he would have a wife in the future. There was an indescribable excitement and anticipation in his heart. He wouldn't be a bachelor. He would have a partner and live a good life with her. He would be able to earn more money in the future. At least he would have something to look forward to. Matchmaker smiled and said, "Haha, okay. That's settled then. You can plan the dates later." If they wanted to get married, they had to pick an auspicious day and do it as soon as possible. It's fine if you don't hold a wedding. After all, at your age, you don't have to bother with those fancy things. The woman can just live with the man. Li Chuiying felt very embarrassed at the thought of making such a big fuss about the wedding. She wasn't an unmarried young lady. It wasn't a glorious thing for her to get married at this age. Of course, the most important thing was that the wedding would cost a lot of money. Since she was married to Zhao Ping, she had to make sure that Zhao Ping did not spend too much money. Thus he said, "Let's forget about the marriage. It's a waste of money and effort. It's better to keep everything simple." This time, Zhao Ping did not follow Li Chuiying's words. Instead, he had his own opinion and said to Li Chuiying, "That won't do. Since you're married to me, we can't make the wedding too shabby. We can't let you suffer. We have to show proper etiquette and let people know that you're the man I married and want to live a good life with." Li Chuiying was slightly stunned. Then she felt touched. Actually, the wedding was just a formality, but Zhao Ping insisted on it. It meant that she was still important to him. Only when a man valued and respected you would you have a good life in the future. Chapter 2344. It seemed like she had made the right decision. She would definitely have a good life if she followed Zhao Ping. It was a blessing from the heavens that she was able to meet a good man after her divorce. She thought that she would be alone for the rest of her life. "Okay, we'll do as you say," Li Chuiying replied shyly. After the matchmaker's matchmaking, Li Chuiying and Zhao Ping were almost done with their discussion. When they were about to go back, they happened to bump into Zhao Yin'er and her family. Zhao Yin'er's family hadn't seen Li Chuiying for a while. When they saw Li Chuiying, they immediately greeted her. Second aunt, second sister-in-law. Seeing Zhao Yin'er's family, Li Chuiying also had some experience and went over to greet Zhao Yin'er's family. Third brother, third sister-in-law, why are you in Yang City? We're shopping. Yin'er will be getting married in a few days. We also have some custom-made clothes. We can't embarrass Yin'er on his wedding day. Haha, I see. Then I really have to congratulate Yin'er. She's finally getting married to the heir apparent. She'll be the heir apparent's consort in the future. A golden phoenix has flown out of the mountains and made us proud. When they heard that Zhao Yin'er was getting married, Liang Jinxiao and Zhao Wenhua were happy for Zhao Yin'er from the bottom of their hearts. When Liang Jinxiao and Zhao Wenhua heard this, they smiled from ear to ear and looked very proud. Indeed, as Li Chuiying said, Zhao Yin'er was not only getting married, but also becoming the heir apparent's consort. This was a great honor. How many girls in the countryside could do this? To old Zhao's family, this was naturally a great honor. Second sister-in-law, it's been a while since you left old Zhao's house. How have you been? Liang Jinxiao asked with concern. When Li Chuiying had just returned to her parents' home, Liang Jinxiao had been worried about Li Chuiying's situation. However, he didn't have the time to visit Li Chuiying's parents' home to find out about Li Chuiying's recent situation. Li Chuiying smiled and replied, "It's pretty good. My mother, brother, and sister-in-law all treat me well. You were much better when you lived with old Zhao." Liang Jinxiao nodded. In that case, he was relieved. Second sister-in-law. Actually, second brother has changed a lot recently. He's different from before. They had become more diligent and were working in a down-to-earth manner. If second sister-in-law doesn't mind, you can consider second brother again. Zhao Wenhua couldn't help but put in a good word for Zhao Wenshui. Of course, this was his true opinion. Zhao Wenshui didn't seem to be pretending. If second sister-in-law could consider carefully and come back to live with second brother, the second branch's life would become better and better. Li Chuiying just nodded faintly and didn't seem to want to say anything more about this matter. Zhao Wenhua tactfully didn't say anything more. After all, Li Chuiying was now divorced from Zhao Wenshui. In addition, Zhao Wenshui had done so many wrong things in the past. He couldn't always persuade Li Chuiying to forgive Zhao Wenshui. By the way, second sister-in-law, why did you come to town today? Did you buy anything? Liang Jinxiao asked. Li Chuiying was a little embarrassed to say that she was here for a blind date with Zhao Ping. Chapter 2345. Coincidentally, he bumped into Zhao Yin'er's family. Since they knew each other, Zhao Ping greeted Zhao Yin'er's family with a smile. Zhao Yiner's family was still thinking that it was such a coincidence that they bumped into Li Chuiying and Zhao Ping today. What shocked Zhao Yiner's family was that Zhao Ping actually stuffed the Longan brown sugar into Li Chuiying's hands and said to Li Chuiying, "I just bought this. Take it back and stew it to nourish your body." What was going on? Zhao Ping bought something for Li Chuiying? The two of them had nothing to do with each other. At most, they were uncle and sister-in-law, and they weren't blood-related. Even if Zhao Ping was kind enough to show concern for Li Chuiying, he didn't have to do this. Spending money to buy something so expensive for Li Chuiying? Even blood-related brothers wouldn't do this. Most importantly, Zhao Ping didn't have much money. His own life wasn't good, so why would he care about Li Chuiying? This was a little too much. Under the scrutinizing gaze of Zhao Yiner's family, Li Chuiying blushed and felt very embarrassed. So he rejected it and said, "This is too expensive. You should take it back. I can't accept it." However, Zhao Ping still insisted on stuffing it into Li Chuiying's hands. "Take it. Since I bought it for you, don't refuse me. I'm a man. I can't eat these things to nourish my body. It's suitable for women. This. Take it." Zhao Ping smiled foolishly. Li Chuiying was in a deadlock. He didn't know what to say, but he also didn't know what to say. He felt a little embarrassed in front of Zhao Yiner's family. He reckoned that they had also noticed the unusual relationship between him and Zhao Ping. Li Chuiying's mouth twitched awkwardly before he took the things. He glanced at Zhao Ping and was a little speechless. Actually, it was a blessing to be able to meet a man like Zhao Ping. If it was in the past, which man would be willing to buy such good food for her? Li Chuiying struggled for a while before he accepted Zhao Ping's things. Ahem, Zhao Yiner coughed lightly and joked at Zhao Ping. "Uncle Zhao, why are you so nice to my second aunt? Could it be that you've fallen for her?" After being teased by Zhao Yiner, Zhao's face turned slightly red and lowered his head, too embarrassed to speak. Zhao, couldn't help but sigh in her heart. Could it be that Zhao Ping really liked Li Chuiying and wanted to be with her? However, Zhao Ping's face was full of shyness, and his silence made it clear that he had admitted to it. Zhao Yiner's little heart could not accept it. When did these two people hook up with each other? Under the shocked expressions of Zhao Yiner's family, Zhao Ping smiled and said, "Your second aunt and I are going to get married. We want to live together for the rest of our lives." Zhao Yiner wasn't the only one who was shocked and couldn't react. Zhao Yiner's other family members were the same. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. They had thought of many scenarios, but they didn't expect Li Chuiying to choose to be with Zhao Ping in the end. Li Chuiying saw the reaction of Zhao Yiner's family and felt even more embarrassed. However, it was useless to feel embarrassed. She would marry into Shuilan village sooner or later, and the entire old Zhao's family would know. "We're also old. We felt that we were suitable for each other, so we got together to live together," Li Chuiying explained. Chapter 2346. Come to think of it, it was indeed a good choice for Li Chuiying to live together with Su Yu. Compared to other men, Zhao Ping was very reliable. He was honest and willing to help others. Apart from being poor, such a man was hard to find. Zhao Ping had been lonely for so many years, so it was good for him to live with Li Chuiying. At least the two of them would accompany and support each other, so they would not be too lonely. Zhao Wenhua and Liang Jinxiao also reacted. Zhao Yiner smiled and said, "Yes, Yiner is right. It's good for you to be together. Then I'll give you my blessings first." Zhao Ping smiled shyly and said, "I'll tell you the good news after we set a date." Haha, okay. Li Chuiying was even more embarrassed. "Third brother, third sister-in-law, you're so nice. Thank you for your blessings." She felt a touch of warmth in her heart. She originally thought that Zhao Wenhua and Liang Jinxiao would be unhappy when they found out that she was going to remarry. Who knew that she would receive their blessings? This was really rare and not easy. "Second sister-in-law, what are you saying? We're happy for you from the bottom of our hearts, that you can live well." After chatting with Zhao Ping and Li Chuiying for a while, they said goodbye. After they parted, Zhao Yiner noticed that Zhao Wenhua's face was gloomy, and he was frowning, as if he was thinking about something. She asked Zhao Wenhua. Father, you look so serious. What are you thinking about? Zhao Wenhua smiled bitterly. Sigh, seeing your second aunt and your uncle Zhao together, I'm both happy and uncomfortable. Zhao Yuner already understood what Zhao Wenhua meant when he said that. Li Chuiying and Zhao Ping would naturally receive blessings if they were together. After all, both of them were good people and lived well together. It was a beautiful ending. However, if the two of them got together, it meant that Zhao Wenshui would no longer have a chance. Zhao Wenshui was Zhao Wenhua's second brother. In terms of kinship, Zhao Wenshui was Zhao Wenhua's biological brother. Zhao Wenhua would definitely side with Zhao Wenshui more. It was not easy for Zhao Wenshui to change his temperament. He had finally made up his mind to coax Li Chuiying back to live with him. Who knew that he would encounter such an ending? If Zhao Wenshui knew about this, he would definitely be very sad. What Zhao Wenhua was most worried about was whether Zhao Wenshui would be agitated and unable to recover from the setback. Zhao Yuner sighed slightly and comforted Zhao Wenhua. Father, this is someone else's business. We don't have to worry so much. It's second aunt's freedom to choose who she wants to be with. She knows who is more suitable for her. Some things are like this. If you miss it in the past, there's no way to go back. Zhao Wenhua nodded in agreement. Zhao Yuna was right. Some things were missed. If he had treasured it in the past, he would not have fallen out with her, and would not have ended up like this. Father, don't think about it. Let's go. Okay. Zhao Wenhua hurriedly cast aside the anxiety in his heart. There was no use worrying about this matter. He was still happy. It was not easy for the family to come to Yang City, so they had to shop together. After a while, it will be Zhao Yiner's wedding. Just thinking about it made him excited. It was great that the children in his family were all starting their own families. Chapter 2347. The whole family was ready to go home after a shopping spree. With the carriage and donkey cart, there was nothing to be afraid of, no matter how many things they had. Usually, they would not encounter such people in the countryside, so the whole family was in a good mood. Zhao Yun thought that if she had nothing to do in the future, she would take her family out for a stroll and have some fun. After returning, Zhao Yiner's family began to prepare. As for the Shitsi manor, they also began to make preparations. With the emperor's intervention, old Madame Mu did not dare to slack off. Everything that needed to be prepared was perfect. Under normal circumstances, the betrothal gifts needed for the Shitsi's marriage were arranged according to the rules. However, because of the wedding preparations, Mu Lianfeng had to stay in the Shitsi manor. He and Zhao Yun would not see each other for a few days until the day of the wedding. Of course, this was according to tradition. Just like Zhao Tianan and Mu Hin had to be separated for a period of time before the wedding. Even though Zhao Yun and Mu Lianfeng missed each other, they endured this period of separation. As the saying goes, absence makes the heart grow fonder. After this short separation, they were really newlyweds. Zhao Yun was still a little excited at the thought of becoming Mu Lianfeng's bride. Thinking about it, in the 21st century, she was a leftover woman who could not get married. Who would have thought that a leftover woman would have a chance to change her life? In this life, God took pity on her and sent her such a good man like Mu Lianfeng. During this time, the emperor also went to Mu Lianfeng. Firstly, he could discuss political affairs with Mu Lianfeng. Secondly, he had other things to deal with in Yang City. After the news that Zhao Yun'er wanted to marry Mu Lianfeng spread, the villagers were not too shocked. After all, they had known for a long time that Zhao Yun'er and Mu Lianfeng were together. But what they didn't expect was that Zhao Yun'er would marry over to be the legal wife, the princess consort. According to their expectations, Zhao Yun'er was just a little girl from the countryside. Even if she gave birth to a son for Mu Lianfeng, a mother's status would rise because of her son. Marrying Mu Lianfeng was indeed not bad. How could she be the legal wife? Many people sighed that Zhao Yun'er's life was really good. Just like that, she suddenly flew up the branch and became a phoenix. The child in the ravine had actually become the current princess consort. Some were envious, and some were jealous. Many people who didn't get along with Zhao Yun's family talked about them behind their backs. But no matter what, the fact that Zhao Yun'er had become the princess consort could not be changed. Zhao Yun'er did not pay attention to these rumors during this period of time. Instead, she calmly recuperated at home. In order to be a beautiful bride and give Mu Lianfeng a little surprise on the wedding day, Zhao Yun'er began to take care of her skin. Previously, she had been busy with her life and hadn't had a chance to rest. She also hadn't taken good care of her appearance, so she looked a little rough. Her skin was a little dry and a little dark. It wasn't as fair and tender. As the saying goes, a fair complexion covers up 3 ugly things. It was always good to have fairer skin. Zhao Yun'er hurriedly got some cucumber, cut it into slices and applied it to her face. Then, she leisurely leaned against the chaise lounge and closed her eyes to enjoy it. After applying the cucumber, she felt that her skin was much more moisturized. She estimated that her skin would be better after a few more days of applying it. In these few days, she also tried not to go out in the sun. With Mu Hin and Liang Jinxiao around, she didn't have to do a lot of housework. On the other hand, Yili had been pestered by Daodu for the past 2 days, so he brought Daodu deep into the mountains to hunt. After a few practice sessions, Daodu's archery skills had improved. The past 2 days had been fruitful, and they had hunted a lot of game back. Zhao Yun'er's family ate meat for every meal without spending any money. They almost fattened up. Yili walked in front and helped Daodu scout the situation ahead. Daodu followed behind with a bow and arrow in his hands, ready to shoot at any time. Suddenly, a scream came from the forest. It was a girl's voice. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.